Good evening. I'm calling the Town of Groton Town Council April 2nd meeting to order. Town Clerk, would you like to take roll call?
Sure. Okay. Councilor Bordelon.
Here.
Councilor Gajewski.
Present.
Councilor Jones.
Here.
Councilor McBride.
Here.
Councilor Merritt.
He will not be attending. He's been having personal issues.
Okay. Councilor Parker.
Present.
Councilor Pacino.
Here.
Councilor Rusk.
She will not be able to attend.
Okay. And Mayor Franco.
I am here. Thank you. Moving on, we will salute the flag. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is recognition awards and memorials. Councilor Parker, would you like to read the recognition proclamation?
Proclamation celebrating Neil Spillane's 100th birthday. Whereas Joseph Neil Spillane was born March 30th, 1924, to Daniel Joseph and Treva Neil Spillane in New York City, making it this his 100th year. And whereas Neil and Dorothy Agnes Hoover were married in Toronto on August 12, 1950, beginning a marriage that would last until Dorothy's passing in 2011, over 60 years. They had 2 sons and 1 daughter, and now have 6 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. And whereas dedicated to service, Neil served in the Army during World War II, and later in the Navy during the Korean War, where he was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Commander and continued to serve in the Naval Reserves throughout his life. And whereas Neil earned degrees in Marine Engineering and Naval Architect at Webb Institute, was a master planning manager at Electric Boat, beginning with the development of the Nautilus, the first nuclear submarine, where he continued his employment for 25 years. After Electric Boat, he consulted on a shipyard design and development for 10 years and finally retired to work for many years in the carving shop at the Mystic Seaport. And whereas he contributed to his local community as the mayor of Groton Town Council from 1971 to 1973, some of his most notable accomplishments in the town were supporting projects for the Pequot Health Center, the Old Mystic Firehouse, the Historic District Commission, the Mystic River Park, El Grasso Technical High School, and preserving the open space of Pequot Woods. And whereas in his spare time, Neil sang in a barbershop quartet, played trombone, and had a special place in his heart for the gospel music of the Gaither family, the Christie Minstrels. I'm sorry, someone's speaking.
Can we keep it quiet in the galley, please? Thank you.
The Christie Minstrels, the Kingston Trio, banjo music of the Moran Brothers, and Pete Seeger, who came to the Mystic Art Association to sing about cleaning up the Hudson River. And whereas the world has undergone many technological changes in Neil's lifetime with the advent of the television, the computer, and the smartphone. Through it all, he has kept up with the times by sending his letters now to the newspaper editor from his computer and keeping up with his family on Facebook. And whereas he continues to share stories with other service members through weekly meetings at the Veterans Coffee Houses hosted by TVCCA, and stays active through his exercise classes at the Groton Senior Center and regular attendance at St. Mark's Church, where he derives a strong sense of community and strength, singing in the church choir and serving as lector for many years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Groton Town Council, on behalf of the town of Groton, wishes Neil Spillane a very happy 100th birthday, dated Groton, Connecticut, this 17th day of March, signed by Mayor Rachel Franco.
Thank you, and happy birthday, Mr. Spillane. Up next, public hearings, which we don't have any, and then receipt of citizens' petitions, comments, and concerns.
This is the portion of the council agenda where the council welcomes comments from the public. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or as directed by the mayor, and if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to Groton. Town councilors should only ask questions in order to clarify their speaker's presentation. All presentations shall be made from the lectern and should include the speaker's name and address for the record. Thank you. Lee Williams.
Great. Thank you. My name is Lee Williams, and I live at 19 Ocean View Avenue. I'm part of a small group that started discussing the potential development of the S.B. Butler School property. As part of our efforts, we decided to try to get a sense from people in the neighborhood what they think about this issue. So we created a brief survey, and I'd like to share the results with you this evening. This is not a scientific survey, but we're confident that at least most, probably all, of the 133 people who filled it out live in the neighborhood surrounding S.B. Butler. We started with one question. One question. No? Thanks. I'll just signal you. Yeah. What is your preference for use of the S.B. Butler property? We gave the respondents 3 options: leave it undeveloped, partially develop it, or fully develop it. The results, as you can see, 65% of the respondents said they would like to see it left undeveloped. 32% said partially develop it. 4%, or 5 individuals, said to fully develop it. Depending on their answer to this first question, they got one of several second questions. If they indicated they wanted to leave it undeveloped, we asked what their preference would be for its use. We gave them 3 options: use for organized recreation, which we defined as ball fields, playground, but mostly open space; use for minimally organized recreation like paths or meadows; or other, and then they could add their own ideas. Almost 80%, said organized use is their preference. A smaller group, 13%, said minimal use, and then there were a few suggestions similar in scope. If they answered partially develop it, we asked 2 questions. What is your preference, and how do you define partial? For preferences, we gave them 4 options: houses similar to those in the neighborhood, cottage housing, which we defined as small houses more densely sited, multifamily housing, or other, and they could share an idea. There were 41 responses. 73%, or 30 people, said houses similar to those in the neighborhood would be their preference. 3 people said multifamily, and then there were several suggestions offered by individuals. When asked, how do you define partial? 91% of respondents selected one of the responses at or under 50%. For people who answered fully develop it, 5 people, they were asked, what is your preference? And were given 4 options: single-family homes, multifamily homes, commercial use, including a hotel, and other. 2 people said single-family homes. Another said single-family homes, but with an economic program caveat. And then 2 others had other suggestions, including a multi-generational park and a Trader Joe's. We then asked all respondents 2 questions. What concerns, if any, do you have about the town's process for determining the use of this land? And what else do you want the town council, planners, commissioners, and other elected and non-elected officials to know? We've printed out these answers, removing any identifying information, and have them for your review. I think you'll find some themes among these comments, and as the town's elected officials, I know you are keenly interested in thoughtful opinions offered by your constituents. We have copies to hand out for each of you of the slides that you just saw, as well as the comments. Thank you for your time.
Next up, Robert D'Agostino.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the Town Council, Mr. Burt, Town Manager and Chairman of the Property Reuse Committee, and Groton residents. I'd like to speak to the reuse of the Butler School property. As many of you are aware, my name is Robert D'Agostino, and I am a local developer who has a long-standing interest in the adapted reuse of the SB Butler School. Over the last few months, I have shared my vision for the property with many Groton residents, and I'm very pleased to say that there are many residents who do favor my proposal, mainly because it will include an updated, multi-use recreational park with open space and paved walking paths for residents and their pets, cedar benches for relaxation and picnics, ample parking, perhaps a community garden, an improved T-ball diamond and playground, and a pickleball court or two. I like to turn a piece of town history into a place to call home and a place that the community as a whole can be proud of. I would also like to state publicly that I am willing to fund, with my own resources, this new multi-use recreational park on the school site, if the town is unable to do so because of the substantial costs involved. I am in the process of sharing my proposal with the SB Butler alumni who live in Groton. The handful of SB Butler School alumni that I have had the opportunity to meet were enthusiastic about my creative, adaptive reuse proposal. Let's not tear down a historic mid-century building that carries many memories for many Groton residents. SB Butler has been part of the fabric of this neighborhood and should remain so. I plan to devote an area inside the school to hang resident photos of their memorable experiences at the school and keep as much of the mid-century interior and exterior as possible. I truly believe that the innovative approach to saving the former school building and preserving the remainder of the site for community use is the highest and best use of this property. I was pleased to know that there are residents of Groton Heights who would like to save their elementary school building for productive reuse as well. And for those who would like to see a fine example of a mid-century building, there is a completely restored house on Main Street in Stonington. If I am selected as the preferred developer of this former school property, I will ensure that its responsible development and its preservation. I plan to protect the character of the existing neighborhood by reusing and updating the existing school into my primary residence and a modest B&B. The ordinance for a B&B is 11 units, and it does require that the owner reside on the property. I'm planning into my primary residence in a modest B&B, which will be a shining example of a mid-century historic architecture and provide a low-intensity use that would produce additional tax revenue for the town of Groton. The 11 units for the B&B will be a considerably less impact on the neighborhood than the previous use, which was a school with diesel buses coming in and out 9 months out of the year, parents picking up and dropping off students, after school activities. So the use was considerably more than it would be with a modest 11-unit bread and breakfast. So I ask, please don't forget about the Butler School, especially when you have a local developer who would like to bring it back into productive reuse. I want to thank all of you for your consideration. I do have an update to hand out to the council with a site plan and some drawings. Thank you, sir.
Do you have a clarifying question?
Yeah, I have a quick clarifying question, if I may, just to
enhance my understanding, if I may?
It's not about understanding, but like, if he said something, you didn't hear it, or to clarify what he said.
Yeah, he did
Exactly.
clarify.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm not asking a direct question. Just
Okay,
want to
go ahead.
understand what he meant. Sir, if you can come back, I just want to ask you a question. I just wanted to know, you said I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. You said you've been speaking to SB Butler alumni, is that correct?
Yeah, folks that attended the school.
Okay. And is there a
But that is not-
database? How are you getting these? I
That's not a
guess?
clarifying question.
Well, I'm just curious, is there an alumni group, or I'm just trying to understand, is
I
there?
know, but a clarifying question is what, to
Sure.
clarify exactly what he said.
If you could just email me then about your alumni group, please, thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to mention too, that the Butler School served over 514 students. So if you look at the current map, which the Magnet School has, the current Magnet School has, it just doesn't
Is this time
encompass the
expired?
folks that live around the school.
Mr. D'Agostino, your time has expired.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Next up, I believe it is Diane Contino.
So we're going to talk about the travel girl, the girl on Channel 3 in the morning. It tells you which routes are, again, because I go from here to there. Okay, I got a ton of phone calls out there last month. One was to do with the town.
Can you,
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
yes.
All right, so I got a bunch of phone calls based on some comments that came from the town.
Your name and address, I'm sorry.
Diane Contino. I have property, my family at 56 C Street in High Rock.
Thank you.
So the phone rings because a town councilor made comments her children wouldn't live in a mobile home, or she asked people in Branford Manor, that wouldn't live in a mobile home. I want to know if that town councilor has ever stepped in a mobile home and has the right to say that, considering she got 100% mortgage, down payment and closing cost, 100%. She was very, very lucky. The mobile home community can't get financing. They have to go to boat brokers. You need to do something. Get a mobile home advisory commission, because I have paperwork for you here. There are over 500 mobile home people just in Groton. In New London County, there are 3,000 mobile home people, and they have a voice. And if you think that this person cannot mount those people together, you're wrong. My husband has been for 53 years in the mobile home business. He sets them up. I sell them. You have no right, or your people that live in Branford Manor and are looking to move, let them come and look at a manufactured home. It is an alternative to housing. You have a member of your staff that just bought a manufactured home to go into High Rock, where the rent is $620 a month. She's paying over $200,000. She can afford to live anywhere. When people move to mobile homes, they open up a bunch of living for everybody. Ranch houses, houses for family with kids. Look at Montville. Hundreds of mobile homes, no kids. These people pick up. You can have your families with children. The mobile home people, add to your tax base. Right now, you got no representation, only taxation. They are real estate. They're not cars. I can get a loan, to buy a motorhome for $240,000 that I can drive down the road, but I can't get a loan for $60,000. I can go to CHFA, get down payment 100%, but if I want to buy a mobile home for my parents or for my children, I got to put down 20%. But did you know if you have a mobile home loan and you've had that loan for more than 2 years, you can refinance that loan out at 1%, up to $100,000. Do you realize that's $100 a month? There is no excuse. And anybody that doesn't know the law, state law supersedes zoning. If you have an approved building lot and it's not in a subdivision that's got deed restriction, Diane could be knocking on your door saying, I'm bringing a double wide and you can't stop me because it's state law. Take care of what you have. Make sure that the mobile home parks now are brought up to standards. Got to have uniform lot rents. The guy over on Flanders Road, his lot rents are not uniform. $700+ a month. Trees fall on the house, he's responsible per state law. You got questions? My paperwork's got my email address. You're welcome to call me. But let me tell you what, you are going to get an explosion very, very soon. And it's going to be brought by us that live in big houses that pay $8,000 in property taxes. You know what? You're missing a good deal here because you do have land on Flanders Road that would build a beautiful double-wide mobile home community. What do you need a basement for? A lot of these people I'm looking at are over 60 years old. Do you need a basement? You would want a garage. Do you want to pay $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in property taxes? How about 2? How about you own the land? How about you do a mobile home co-op like Colchester? You own it. There are different ways of thinking, but the town doesn't want to hear it. They're going to hear it now because those of us that have been supporting people that have been like our family for 50 years, we're not trailer people. We're not mobile home people. We are homeowners that live in this town, and I can bet you 2 to 1, it'll never be a mobile home park built at Butler School. Never. Even though someone on Ocean View owns 4 mobile home parks. So you talk 2 sides of your face. Come up with an alternative. Get committees together. These people are going to listen to you, because if not nice, I'm bringing 500 people to vote, plus their kids that will live in and that do live in a mobile home. I'm sorry. Goodbye. I'm done.
Thank you. Next up, Matt Morton.
I'm sorry, who was that? What did she say? The next one was? Oh.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Morton. I live at 67 Mariners Lane. What prompted me to come here tonight is I'm a retired police officer for the town of Groton. I watched the March 26th meeting of the town council regarding the town retirees' request for a COLA. There was a great deal of discussion about Social Security benefits, and Councilor McBride commented on the need for pension COLAs for those retirees receiving higher retirement incomes. That prompted me to appear before you this evening. It is important for the council to know that the town's police officers have never been allowed to pay into Social Security. As a result, officers who retire and subsequently work other jobs are dramatically penalized under the current Social Security law. Social Security benefits can be reduced up to 60% of those officers getting an outside job under the windfall elimination requirement by the government. All town retirees receive Social Security benefits in addition to their town pension, except police officers. We were not given a choice. However, we paid a higher contribution into their pension plan to defray the cost of future adjustments. We were led to believe that in doing so, we would be entitled to a better retirement than Social Security could provide, which is not true today. For the past 22 years, I have received an increase of only 10.5% in COLAs in my pension income from the town of Groton. Social Security recipients have received increases of over 11.9% in just the last 2 years, where I was, for 22 years, 10%. I retired in 2002. In 2007, I received a 3% COLA. For the next 9 years, I received no COLAs whatsoever from the town. In 2016, I received a 2% COLA, and since 2016, officers retiring have received a total of only 7.5% in COLAs from the town. During that same time period, those receiving Social Security benefits received a total of 13.9% increases. That's almost twice the amount from Social Security versus the town. The town has not kept pace with inflation, as does Social Security. I have provided each of you with a breakdown of the police department COLAs since 2002, when I retired. In closing, I would also like to point out that the city of Groton provides COLA increases every January for all retirees, equal to the Social Security increases. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody online?
We do, and that there's at least one person in the audience that didn't get a chance to.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry. One person's being promoted, James Ottinger, and then we have at least another person in the audience who didn't get a chance to sign up. We'll try to get them promoted. Coming over. Oh, decline. Okay, he's going to do it via phone.
Excuse me?
He's going to do it via phone, so
Oh,
he's
so
all set.
he's going to get out and get back in, so we can
He's
move
he's
on?
done right now.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Mhm. Oop, was it? Mr. Ottinger?
Hi, my name is, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. My name is James Ottinger. I live at 162 Bayview Avenue, Mystic. And I just wanted to voice my opinion that I'm opposed to being privately sold. As the neighborhood have no control over future development of the property or changes in the property, I'm voicing my opinion to leave it as open space and rent or areas for recreational use. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Come on up.
Evening all. My name is Jim Furlong. I live at 57 Fishtown Lane in Mystic. For a couple of months, I think, I've seen along Route 1 opposite the town hall a lot of tearing down of trees and buildings, and I'm just wondering what this is all about. I've asked the day about it, but I have gotten no response. Someone here knows, I'm sure, so I'd like to know if it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brendan Gibbs. I live at 19 Topsail Lane. I'm here tonight to express my concern regarding the different development ideas and proposals I've heard circulating regarding Butler School. My family and I are opposed to developing the property and wish to keep it as open space. We have 3 young kids, and we use the playground at the school multiple times a week, as I know that there's other families in the area that also use the playground. Every time I'm there, I see multiple people walking around the grounds, either by themselves with other people, with pets, enjoying the property. The neighborhood loves the property and they wish to maintain it. As someone with young kids, I'm always concerned about having them out, and the next nearest closest playground that is safe is Pequannock Plains. The other playground in our neighborhood is not safe. It's on Judson Lane. It's right next to the road. The fence won't keep my kids out from the road. I don't feel safe having my kids go there, because if I turn my back for a second, they could be on the road and people go by really fast. I just want to say that I think developing the property will add a lot of traffic into the neighborhood. The roads are already very narrow, and I don't think especially in Groton, that we need to add additional traffic in and out of the neighborhood. The roads are safe right now with a lot of, we feel safe walking around with our children on the sidewalks, and we just don't want to add additional traffic. And I hope that you take everyone's views into account, especially the 133 people that took the survey and wish to keep it as open or mixed use land. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up and speak?
Hi, my name is Jody Morneau. I live at 62 Judson Avenue in Mystic. I've really enjoyed living in the neighborhood because I've enjoyed all the children growing up in my neighborhood. I've enjoyed watching elderly people walking and dogs. I would be extremely disappointed if we gave over that property to a developer not knowing if he's really going to do what he says. I'm from the city of Hartford, and we have found that developers often say that they're going to do something, and then they do something else. There's no guarantee if we sell the property to a developer that he will actually do what he's going to say. He might decide to do something different. And for me, I would be heartbroken if we lost that green space. Behind my house where I live is a swampland. People think it's an open green space, but it's really a swampland. It's so wet back there that nobody that has children could play there. Then when you go down the street, we have another playground that Brendan spoke of, but it's very unsafe for children because it's tiny. And if a parent turns their head for 1 second, a kid could be hit by a car. Thirdly, we have a trail that's on our neighborhood that you can go into the woods. The problem with that is we have coyotes, we have bobcats, okay? We have ticks, and that has not been maintained, okay? In my opinion, being a resident and why I chose to permanently live in Mystic is I wanted a safe place to live for myself, my elderly mother, and for the children that I love in my neighborhood, in my community. I have been the grandmother of that neighborhood for years, watching over other people's children, and it really makes me happy when I walk my dog and I go see that green space. Children are playing, people are walking their dogs, people that are elderly are walking through that space. I would really be heartbroken and disappointed if you folks decided to develop that property. Thirdly, I am an activist, and I'm not gonna lie. I have walked around that neighborhood repeatedly and asked people if they wanted that neighborhood developed. The answer is no. People want it as is. They do not want it sold. We've been paying taxes all these years to this community, and we do not want to lose that as our green space for our children, for ourselves, and for the elderly. So I hope you think before you make the wrong decision. And I'd like to also know, how much is that guy going to pay for that property? Is that like a fire sale? Is he getting it at a really low price? Because if he is, maybe other people would donate money and save that as a green space. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up and speak?
Somebody left their control up there, or is this?
You go stay for this. You just leave it there.
My name is Ian Thomas, 24 Jefferson Drive. For full disclosure, I am a member of the Board of Ed, and I'm speaking mostly as a private citizen tonight, but I may kind of stray a little bit into some budget-related stuff. Long story short, there's a lot of concern being voiced about property reuse in the Butler area. And last month, there was a lot of, there's 2 public hearings for Pleasant Valley and for Groton Heights. We have a town-owned property evaluation committee that hasn't met in recent history, so I would encourage And there's also a property reuse document that was drafted up by a property reuse committee last town council term that attempted to address a lot of these concerns about having community input on the front end of developments and potential development of town-owned property. Unfortunately, that 2023 draft of the property reuse document was summarily tossed out by the previous council, and the 2021 draft was reinstated, which left a lot of details out as to how to include, specifically include community membership in the determination process, and also the RFP creation. So a lot of these concerns that are being addressed could be dealt with through the RFP process. And that's how you control what development goes into an area, is by having an RFP that is articulated in such a way that the developers have to create a project that satisfies the RFP. And the property reuse document from 2023 specifically included community members as part of a ad hoc committee. The town council would form a subcommittee that would have town staff on it and some town councilors, and also would specifically draw from the community ad hoc members. Well, it doesn't exist. They tossed out that policy. So, well, it doesn't exist.
Mr. Thomas, you cannot have conversations with the people in the galley while you're making your citizens' comments, please. Thank you.
So the, could you just pause the time for a second?
I did.
Thank you.
That's what I was doing.
All right, I'll resume. So the property reuse 2023 draft does not exist. So the town-owned property evaluation committee as it stands now is all town staff, and there is no accommodation for or requirement for that committee to draw in members of the community that stand to be impacted by possible development to be part of the RFP creation process. So I would encourage anyone who's concerned about such things to write your counselors and ask them to reconsider the guiding document that they're following right now to determine the use of town-owned property. Because right now, the one that they have is, in my opinion, rather scant and also has potential legal problems that were discussed in the previous term and also during the RTM process when we considered trying to use the power of initiative to pass the 2023 property reuse document. So anyone that's concerned, feel free to reach out to me, Ian Thomas. You can send me an email at iancthomas4Groton, that's the number 4, Groton, @gmail.com, IANCTHOMAS 4, the number 4, Groton, @gmail.com. I can fill you in on all the details of what the 2023 document would have provided for the community had it been passed by the previous council. And also the identified deficiencies or challenges that exist right now with the 2021 document that is serving as the guiding, as the guidelines for current town property usage. And also for the developer that was here, there is a process for applying. The RFP has not been developed for that property yet, so I would encourage him to reach out to the Town-Owned Property Evaluation Committee and present himself there and follow the proper channels, such as they exist. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak?
I have one more person that's joined online that signed up previously.
Okay. We have somebody coming up right now.
The name just dropped off. There might be two people in the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have someone. It's Lynn O'Brien.
We have somebody at
Nice to meet you
the,
in one
Yes,
moment.
thank you.
we have somebody at the podium at the moment. Sir, would you like to
Okay.
state your name and address?
My name is Carmine Crispino. I live at 58 Walter Fish Avenue in Mystic. What I say to you people now is the way you vote on this project is going to affect this community for a long, long time. Either you're going to make it or you're going to break it. All this is in your hands. What I ask you to do is vote wisely and think of this community. I've been here 20 years, and it's a fine place to bring up your children and your grandchildren. So I ask you again, vote very wisely. Thank you.
All right, so who is online?
Lynn O'Brien?
Lynn O'Brien?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Lynn O'Brien, 162 Bayview Avenue. Mayor Franco and Town Council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. At the 3/12/24 Town Council meeting, mobile home parks were discussed in the agenda. During that segment, it was agreed that the Town Council would send a letter to zoning and planning to take another look at the current zoning and see if a change from the current 20 acres required for the new mobile home park be reduced down to 15, 10, or 5 acres. Within the conversation, Bruce Jones brought 2 school properties. One was about 9.7 acres, and I think he said the other 17 into the discussion. It should be noted here that theoretically that zoning change could be applied to the schools for an open space subdivision. It would not be the best use, but the regulation could still be applied to the reuse of the schools, even though the first intent is for the new mobile home park. And I believe that was confirmed by Mayor Franco and John Reiner previously. This brings me to the reuse of the S.B. Butler property. Theoretically, if zoning were to change current regulation, 20 acres needed for open space subdivision, down to 5 acres, regardless if it were changed or not, I am against any subdivision for S.B. Butler, a conventional subdivision under R12 or open space subdivision. The requirement of placing 10%, 20% open space, depending on the type of development, is not enough open space or recreational area for the surrounding S.B. Butler neighborhood, nor is it the best or appropriate use of property. I must also firmly state I am against any private sale of property. Too many things can go awry with that one. What I'm hoping is that the property remains town property and that it will be used for active and passive recreation as well as for open space. Residents have come up with some wonderful ideas, as has the town of Groton. In the 2023 Town of Groton Parks and Recreation Master Plan, page 110, it recommends using the property as a recreation center with options, including but not limited to a multi-use field, which might include pickleball, basketball, field soccer, goalposts for football, converting the old building into a community recreation center, perhaps including an aqua facility. It is this plan that I hope the town will pursue. The second concern I have is very uncomfortable for me to address. First, I need to state that I have a tremendous amount of respect for all that the town council members do. You put a tremendous amount of time in, and you are to be applauded. Thank you for your service. I have spoken with many neighbors regarding the various town meetings, either attended by people in person or which have been watched virtually. The meetings are held in a public forum. The fact it is televised potentially increases the audience to the world. Not that someone from Brazil would be interested in watching the meetings, but my point is it's a public forum. On 5 or 6 occasions, while talking with friends and neighbors about the town meetings, people have stated something like this. Did you see, name not mentioned, how so-and-so treated Portia Bordelon? These remarks were unsolicited by me. At this point, this is when I say, yes, I have, and it's horrible. Portia Bordelon is a member of the town council who I do not know personally, and she is obviously invested in her role as a town council member and puts countless hours into the betterment of our town. What upsets me is the way she has been repeatedly treated by a few members of the town council. I am a retired teacher of 30 years plus. Thus, I come from a background that takes bullying seriously. During the town council meetings, either in person or watched virtually, I have seen Ms. Bordelon demeaned and treated rudely on several occasions. This is not acceptable, whether it's televised or not. As a citizen of Groton, I find it appalling have to sit here and watch this occur time after time. It is unprofessional, to say the least. As a bystander, I am made complicit unless I say something. If those involved with this behavior against Ms. Bordelon hold a personal grudge, I ask it be put aside when you are discussing town business. If you differ on opinions regarding various topics that are discussed at the town meetings, then respectfully disagree. Portia Bordelon was voted in overwhelmingly by the citizens of Groton. Moving forward, I respectfully ask that each member of the town council that is involved treat Ms. Bordelon with respect. To avoid saying this in a public forum, I considered sending the complaint via the Town of Groton Ethics complaint form. Then I considered writing to Human Resource Department, but there appears to be a conflict of interest between departments, so I was left only with this option. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
My name is Joanne Dorman. I live at 368 Judson Avenue. I've lived there for 30 years and raised my kids here and in Noank. And I'm in agreement with the majority of the people that have spoken tonight. I think it's very important to keep that space the way it is. When Noank School was taken down and that area was made into a park, I thought that was a great decision, and I'd like to see something like that stay in our community as well. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
My name is Robin Hunt. I live on 20 Topsail Lane in Mystic, and I've lived there for close to 40 years now and raised my kids there. My grandchildren all went up to that school to play. It's always been a safe area, and that's the way I would really like to keep it. I want to keep it an open space. I don't want any kind of development in there at all.
Okay, I don't see anybody else that would like to speak, so we'll be moving on. Up next is the consent calendar. Councilor Gajewski, would you like to pass the consent calendar?
Sorry.
It's right here with all the.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the Town Council special meeting of November 28th, 2023 are hereby accepted and approved. So moved.
No, it's on the front. It's all of these. It's on the agenda. It's listed all of them.
Sorry. Thank you. I motion to move the consent calendar, item 2024-308, November 28th, 2023 special meeting minutes. Items 2024-312, March 5th, 2024 minutes. 2024-112-2 special trust fund contributions, March. So moved.
Second, Parker.
Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Moved by Gajewski, seconded by Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 7-0 to 0. Up next is communication and reports. We will begin with Councilor Bordelon.
Thank you. First, I just want to make sure people are aware that early voting was passed, and it's something that we can do. I don't know if we have any updates from the town. I haven't seen much posted, so maybe the town manager can report on that as far as that goes. I was honored to attend a fundraiser in Niantic at the Niantic Brew Pub in honor of Ari Cuthers, who happens to be a cousin of mine, who was killed over in Afghanistan back in, I always don't want to remember the date, but back in like 2010. And they did a huge fundraiser where monies were donated to the New London Homeless and Hospitality. Many different people donated. His brother is a Groton resident, my cousin, and he was the one who created the mural on the city side where the old skating ring is at the brewery that's there. So he's a local artist, and so just so important to remember veterans. Every year they do this in honor of him for his birthday, so it was heavily attended, and it was an honor to be there. I also attended the fencing fencing banquet, and it was just really interesting to hear Mr. Stalker, who retired a year ago. He got to give out the first year of awards called the Coach Stalker Awards to one graduating senior male and female, so that was really important and interesting to attend. I received many phone calls, many conversations and emails, public comments, whether it be at the library or in the grocery store regarding SP Butler concerns. I also received information about the proposed letter that has a consensus of the council to go forward to P&Z about some changes. And someone asked, well, what's the consensus? And I said, well, I believe it only has to be a certain number. It doesn't mean that all 9 councilors agreed to send that letter to P&Z, is what I told them, me being one of them. I also did attend, we did say this before, I know we read the proclamation today from Mr. Splain. I'm happy to know Mr. Splain pretty personally as I attend St. Mark's Church in Mystic. And, you know, he's such an asset to our community and often gives me a lot of information regarding the town that I didn't know from so long ago as he was the mayor many years ago. Received communications regarding Property Reuse Committee, asking questions about that. Concerns with Ivory Court, people have reached out to me over there. Part of Pequannock Bridge neighborhood area where folks are concerned that they got and again, I haven't fact checked this, I'm speaking on behalf of many people, that their leases were running out quick and they were getting letters to leave, and someone was buying the property and folks were going to be possibly without home. So definitely a concern. I also did send an email to the town manager regarding that we need some type of bullying harassment meetings where we can, as a council, work on that, as I do share concerns. It was interesting that she stated that today. I've been very targeted and not treated like my fellow councilors. And I asked the town manager to seek some bullying harassment training. Thank you.
Councilor Pacino.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've received all the same emails that all of my fellow councilors have. I don't have anything further to report.
Thank you. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also received all the same emails that everyone else has. I attended the March 21st Trails Coordinating Task Force meeting where we talked about the different the 27 miles of trails that we have in the town. Just a couple highlights. For Cop Family Farm, a grant has been submitted for trail expansion and updating those trails. Excuse me. For the Crosstown Trail, working on signage. Groton Open Space is working on invasives on their new Center Groton property. And an RFP has been put together by Parks and Rec for the Wolfbrook property for forest management plan and studies of the wildlife and what's going on with there. So it was a tremendously productive meeting and one of the best trails meetings we've had in a long time. I also just wanted to highlight, I attend events at Thrive 55. We have one of the top senior centers in the entire country here in our town, and it's a tremendous asset, and they have a lot of really great quality programs. I just want to highlight 2 that I attended. One I'm currently attending, it's a 6-part program. The other one was last week. One was on empowering yourself for quality care, for picking rehab centers and skilled nursing facilities, something that some of us will be there at some point, but it was just an outstanding presentation on information about how to go about doing that. And then one that I've been enjoying a lot is by Dr. Gary Robbins, an ancient Roman ruins program, where he has taken you on tours of 6 different sites for Rome. This event has been attended so well that you have to get there early, you're not going to get a seat. It's been so popular. So I just encourage people to take advantage of our tremendous Thrive 55 and the programs they're offering. It's just a great resource for the town. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McBride.
Thank you. I attended the Southeastern Connecticut Resource Recovery Act, otherwise known as SCOUR meeting a few weeks ago as the council liaison to try to get up to speed on all the matters relating to that area. I'll be providing additional details in future reports as to what transpires at those meetings. I also attended the christening of the USS Idaho with the mayor, and it was a very enjoyable and eye-awakening event that I enjoyed tremendously, and I got a lot out of it, so thank you for that. And I also received many of the same emails everyone else has, but I will say the bulk of the emails and the conversations I've had have really focused on the budget and what this council will do moving forward to try to minimize the impact on the residents. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Gajewski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Today I attended the Children's First Groton meeting as the council liaison to that. I'm happy to report that their mental health cafes were very well attended, and there were some great discussions going on. And they are in the process of hopefully creating some story walks for the summer, so to combine learning and nature. And then they are also hoping to relaunch their Groton Go summer program. So some exciting community stuff for our children and support for parents. I also, in regards to the Ivy Court housing, and there was another one I was made aware of too. I contacted Congressman Courtney's office to see if there could be any assistance, and I am in communication with them regarding that. And then I attended last Wednesday Sector, which is the enterprise agency for the region that was supported by realtors and the need for development and in this town to increase the grand list. And then I also received emails similar regarding to the budget and SB Butler property. I know I've stated this on the record before. I live in the SB Butler neighborhood, and it is of concern to mine, but I would also like to remind the public that of the Property Reuse Committee document that passed last year, that this is in the very early stages of the process. It has not even come before the council yet. So the council has not discussed what we will be doing with the property, what ideas are. So to all the wonderful people that came out and gave their comments regarding that, you are ahead of the game. So that is it for me, and I yield back.
Thank you. Councilor Parker.
Thank you, Matt. Go ahead. No, I heard someone speak, so I waited. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did my community report last week for TVCCA, but I did reach out to Mr. Josh Kelly, who's the new CEO of TVCCA, regarding Ivy Court and Fieldside, and he will be getting back to me this week. They are personally going to call and find out what's going on, and I will give an update once I have information. Two, it was a wonderful event for Mr. Spillane. I know I did not report that out last week. So again, happy birthday. And there is someone else who's having a birthday. I believe she said it's August 17th, so we'll need another one. I have to get her name. She will also be 100 this year. So
wonderful.
Thank God. So yes. I did receive a lot of communications, speaking to many different people. They're watching our meetings, and they have concerns. They've watched everything, and I've heard what some people have said. Respect is given, as long as respect needs to be across the board. It goes two ways, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I received an enormous amount of emails regarding topics and issues, as well as text and calls from residents within our community. I would like to clarify that there is something on our agenda tonight about sending a letter to Planning and Zoning, and it was stated that I am trying to put mobile home parks in school properties. I am definitively saying that is not the purpose of sending the letter to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have a lack of housing in our community. I I have stated on the record before, I lived in a mobile home park, High Rock Trailer Park. And we are lacking housing, and this is affordable housing. And in this letter that is being sent, it's asking the planning and zoning to consider allowing existing mobile home parks to be able to add more mobile homes in it, as well as allowing potentially more mobile home parks in the town of Groton. I attended a public hearing on the town and the Board of Ed budget, as well as the fellow counselors last week. The council has completed 2 budget sessions. I also watched the planning department's community conversation workshop. The next community conversation workshop will be on April 25th at 5:45 till about 7:15 p.m. at the Community Baptist Church at 950 Gold Star Highway in Groton. We also had an earthquake this past week in Groton on the morning of the 28th, and it was felt and heard by many residents, and they stated there was like 3 booms and some shaking. I seem to have missed that. I want to also touch upon where residents in our community, people have reached out to me, and I find this very concerning, that there are 2 areas in our community, the neighborhoods, that people are receiving notices to vacate. One area has 25 housing units they want them to vacate, and the other section has 60 units, from what I'm understanding, to vacate. That is 85 family units in our community who are being asked to leave their homes, apartments. And I don't know where they're going to go, because I don't know if we have the housing in our community for them. I just don't. And it's very concerning. I will be touching upon this later on in mayor report, because I have reached out to Mr. Byrd about it. I have reached out to our legislators about it. I have received some responses. I am waiting for more, but I am looking into this because it is very concerning to have children and families being asked to leave their home and then trying to find another home where they might want to stay in the same school district, and it's so challenging to find somewhere to live in Groton right now. And I will be covering that later on. I thank everybody for coming out and speaking tonight. I like seeing a full house, so thank you very much. Next on our agenda is the clerk of the council. Do you have a report, please? We're not at this time. You are welcome to send me an email. And actually, you live across the street from me, so you can talk to me at any time. Thank you. It's been a busy week. I told you I was going to talk to you. I'm sorry.
Okay. The presidential primary election is today. Polling places will be open till 8 p.m.
Thank you.
The clerk's office received 122 requests for absentee ballots, and as of 4 p.m.
You know what, can we take a break, and maybe some of the people might,
Okay.
I think they're going to probably move around, and it might make some noise. So how about
Okay.
we just take a break at this time, and we'll take a 10-minute break, and then if we want to talk to anybody here, we can.
Okay.
All right, we'll come back to you, okay?
No worries.
Thank you.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Okay, we're back at 8:02. We had gone on break at 7:36, so it was quite a long break for us. Sorry about that. We are on to Clerk of the Council. Would you like to report?
Yes, okay, so the presidential primary election was today. It's after 8, so the polling places are officially closed. The town clerk office received 122 requests for absentee ballots, and as of 4 o'clock, my last check, we had received 100 back.
Oh, nice.
And that's it for the clerk.
Oh, I have a question.
Councilor Bordelon?
In regards to the early voting, are we prepared, and if you can't answer, it's fine, for the actual election in November? Will more information be starting to go up for that as well?
I'm sure it will. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Pacino.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Do you have a head count of how many people actually early voted?
Not yet, but
Okay.
I'm sure that I will get those numbers.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, on to Clerk of the Representative Town Meeting.
The only thing I have, their next meeting will be next week, April 10th at 7 p.m.
Okay. Town Manager.
Good evening. Not much to report tonight. I will be giving the one of the Mystic Chamber presentations Friday. As you may recall, at the downtown Mystic restrooms, we did have that vandalism. We've added some cameras on there, so a little bit better coverage. So now we have 4 cameras around the building, so hopefully that'll help a little bit. And we can view footage up to 2 weeks from the, backwards, so. And then the police, knowing the police / No Ink, former No Ink Tower. We're right at the tail end. We're pretty much wrapping up negotiations on that. I'm sending the 824 referral to the Planning Commission for their input generally on the idea, and expect to bring that to the council pretty soon. And as you may recall, we had some flooding issues at Pequannock Plains Park there with the state drain. They did clean that out, and the last few rain events since then, we haven't had the flooding, so far so good with that. And that's all I have.
Councilor Bordelon.
I know you said I didn't have to put a referral in when I came back to you a while ago about the AD machines, and again, thank you and commend the town. You put out, I think, an additional, 7 or 8 possibly. So awesome. Like we were, and I had reported that like when I was in Cape Cod and stuff, any like wait station where there was like an information booth or bathrooms, they're also putting AED machines, and I know you said you're going to look into it. Has there been any movement on that yet?
I know the box, took a little while backlog to get the one for the Mystic restroom area.
Yep.
I know they got the box in, they were installing it. What I don't know is if it was completed yet, because the last time when we installed, there was a connecting the software to the phone line issue, and they had to send it back out for something. So I'll double check and see if it's been wrapped up. I know the materials came in, I just can't say for sure it's in yet.
Perfect. That would be exciting to see that go up for the summer, especially when they were speaking about the heat and everything. And is there going to be a little flag up there because it says like police department and bathroom, just a little like so people can see it from down the road? What they do is just put like a little, 4x6 or however, little thing up there that says AD machine so people know where to find it.
I'll take a look at that.
Perfect. The other question is can you read the name of the developer that's taking over the Ivy Court section, if we know the name of it?
1 second.
Or do we have any other information on that?
Nothing's come before the town. So the deeds, there were deeds filed, recorded, of course,
Yeah.
but there's been nothing submitted to the planning department yet. So we
And
don't
do
have.
we know who bought that property?
Let's see, 1 second here. It's, basically a company named Kaisis 36 Felix LLC. So
Right.
that's the name of the company.
And as of now, they haven't put any plans for development in there yet. And also, some people spoke about the clearing across from DQ, where you can see a lot of mature trees have been chopped down. And has there been anything placed yet for any form of development there yet?
And nothing's been submitted yet. I just
Nothing.
checked on that, and there's been nothing yet.
Okay.
I've asked the planning department to be sure to let me know on each of those once they hear something.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for that.
Councilor McBride.
Just a quick question, Manager Burt. I believe I reached out to you, but I apologize. I don't think I know you sent me a response. I don't recall all of it. The micro-transit that was announced recently, it was just a blurb that I saw. Do you have any information that you could?
I don't
reveal?
have a lot. I did reply to your email, but I didn't have a lot. Let me just pull it up for a second real quick here.
Because I know there's been questions in the past on whether C can extend their services locally, so I didn't know if that was part of the plan with them.
Sorry, it's not coming up in a search. And I have them locked out right now on my computer for a second. I haven't heard much about it myself. I looked through my notes on it. You know, it's a small vehicle on demand. You know, call to set up, you know, they come get you. I don't know how far in advance you have to request it, but it's, you know, it's not a route, it's an on demand. Last I heard in my notes, it was gonna be weekdays from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. in the eastern part of the town. It's very similar to the Stonington hop service that they've had going for a while there. So there's a 2-year grant that's funding it, and they'll see how it goes.
Thank you.
Councilor Bordelon?
Once you get that, can we get that up on, you know, GMTV, on the Facebook page? I think we need to promote it.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of times, you know, things come in that are great and a lot of people aren't aware of it. I know at the budget meeting yesterday, he briefly touched upon that, and, you know, with all the parking concerns in Mystic, you know, transit, some type of transportation in that area would be definitely warranted and needed. So that would be a huge help to the community.
Sure.
So any type of flyers or anything we can do to kind of spread the word so that I can also help spread the word as well would be helpful.
I'll pass it on.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, Committee of the Whole, Mayor Franco. As usual, I have quite a bit to report today. So first, I'm just going to start off with my tidbit of history from Mr. Streeter. And did you know the design of the Connecticut state flag had its beginnings in Groton? In 1859, Abby Slocum was appointed to the chair of the Fort Griswold Monument House Committee, and she thought it would be nice to decorate the interior of the building with state flags. She was then made aware that Connecticut was using 35 different troop flags, and the Connecticut General Assembly had not adopted an official state flag. Ms. Slocum petitioned the governor to have one flag be legally established as our state flag. With her request, she submitted the two designs for consideration. In 1897, Ms. Slocum submitted a third design for consideration with the motto, Q translunt sustenance. I don't even know how I say it, I'm sorry. But when translated, that means he who hath transplanted still sustains. So in August 1997, Ms. Slocum's design became Connecticut's official state flag. Who knew? Right here in Groton, Connecticut. So moving on, if anyone missed the budget meeting last night, I would like to reiterate that our town manager, Mr. Burt, requested the council remove his salary increase from the budget due to challenges presented by the Board of Ed budget. He went on to say that at times like these, it's imperative for those in top leadership positions to lead by example. Again, thank you for your sacrifice, and our community thanks you. The council is invited to the 60th anniversary of the U.S. Subvets. An invitation will be sent by me. I have already forwarded off a congratulatory letter that they would like to put in their program. The council has been invited to Community Speaks Out screening of Silence in the Streets documentary regarding the opioid and fentanyl crisis, and the event will take place on April 13th at the Gard Arts Theater Center. Updated on the,
Mayor, can I add something to that?
What's that?
That the tickets are for free and that they do have to sign up on the link.
That is correct. You do have to get your tickets online. And I also believe it's open to not just to counselors, but to the community. I have an update on holiday light referral. Mr. Burt is inquiring with organizations to see who owns which telephone poles going down from Quantick down Route 1 into downtown Groton. As if we would like to put any kind of lights on poles, we would need to get permission. But he is looking into that. Counselor Jones is working on a step-by-step spreadsheet so that the vacant schools may be easily tracked through the reuse policy. He has forwarded me the document to review, and in the coming week or so, I hope to be able to review it. But thank you for taking the time to do that. Kim Drellick, a reporter from The Day, has reached out to me inquiring about mobile homes in Groton. I spoke with Ms. Drellick and expect an article to be out soon. Mr. Burr and Mr. Hendrick have reached out to our state legislators inquiring about the enterprise funding from the state for electric boats' recent buildings. And when I saw the state legislators, I also had mentioned it and talked to them a little bit about it, but we are hoping that the state will come through with some enterprise funding for Groton. That would be awesome. There is a potential request coming to the council, and I say potential because I don't know exactly where it is in the works right now, for 2 scoreboards to be for the middle school fields. It is an expected cost of about $44,000, and they may be coming to us and ask for some excess ARPA funds. Just want to make us aware of that. And then this evening, Mr. D'Agostino's letters that we received as a town council, they came through today. They were they were forwarded to us by Lisa Hilton as well, and I think John Burt had forwarded a few to her. And there were numerous ones. All the letters were the exact same letter, and it was typed in who signed them, their address, if there was an address, and like if they lived in the community. There were a few people that I was sort of like surprised to see their names, so I reached out to them, and I just want our council to understand that some of the people had never seen this letter before. And when I sent it to them, they were surprised, and they said, I have never seen this letter before. So, Mr. Burr, I am not sure how we should handle these letters and if they should be input into the record or how we should handle this, because there is no contact like an email or a phone number to contact a lot of them. So I am not saying that all the letters,
I've got
but
Mr.
there are a few.
D'Agostino's email address. I could ask him to resubmit with actual signatures and contact info for those.
I think that would be important to have, because I did actually stop at one of the addresses on one of them, and on my way to the council meeting tonight, on a few streets over from me, and that person had never seen anything and they said they did not approve of it. So I think we need to take that into consideration and maybe not receive them into the record until we have signatures. So as I said earlier, many councilors have heard about the notice to vacate written to residents within town, 25 units on Ivy Court, as well as 60 units from Fieldside Apartments on Grove Avenue. As many councilors searched for solutions, as we heard this evening, I also contacted Mr. Burr, and I also spoke to some of our Groton state legislators. So I had spoke to Senator Summers, Representative Baumgardner, and they seem to be working on trying to find some kind of assistance and some paths to help residents. I also received a letter from Representative Conley, which states the following, because I think it's sort of important to be able to share this with our community. She states that landlords do have the right not to renew a lease or sell the property, The notice required for each tenant depends on the lease terms. Whenever this happens, it is a very stressful time for the tenants. Finding a new home, packing, moving, and having the available funds for moving costs and security deposits is difficult. There are responses to get the correct advice for their lease, notice periods, and options. So residents may have, if they qualify, the right to counsel program is funded by the state and allows tenants who are income eligible to have an attorney represent them through the Connecticut Legal Services for no charge to the tenant. If they are over the income level, you can still get general advice. Residents should call 1-800-559-1565 or go to www.evictionhelp.ct.org. Connecticut Legal Services provides the help to residents. Their office is in New London at 125 Eugene O'Neill Drive, first floor, New London. Their number is 860-447-0323. And she made a note that this was a great program. And with transfers of property occur, rents can increase, and the town has services for rent changes and housing accommodations, the Groton's Fair Rent Commission. It's Marshall, I can't pronounce, Magsaka? Neighborhood and Community Planner is 860-446-5976. And TVCCA Services, as was mentioned earlier. And Home Again Project helps residents find affordable housing. They have programs to help the housing vouchers as well. 860-889-1365. New London's Homeless Hospitality Center provides housing for adults experiencing homelessness. 860-439-1573. And Christine Conley goes on to say that she's happy to answer questions and put residents in contact with additional services. And her number is 860-240-8585. So I thought that was important to share that information. And if I receive the information from Senator Summers or Representative Baumgartner, I will also forward that on to the council as well. Councilor Bordelon.
I just wanted to ask through you to the town manager, if you could just take that write-up, and you don't have to single out a certain area, but just maybe post something saying if anybody's experiencing this and maybe those numbers, and put it up on social media. That way a lot of us can share that, because maybe people don't watch this meeting, and it could be just good to have up there on our page in general of who to contact. So it doesn't have to be singling out a certain subdivision or area, but I'd love to see all that information gathered in one area and maybe sent out as a post if possible.
Okay.
Be glad to.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Mr. Burt was CC'd on that email when she sent it to me. So, and for those people that live there, you know, we would really like to help you the best we can. It's just trying to find the proper help that can work for you. I also think that this, at least for me, I will not speak for the rest of the council, this shows me that housing is of the utmost importance. And even as a council, that was a goal and a priority of us as a whole. So I think we should definitely be looking at anything having to do with housing that can come forward. Councilor Bordelon?
Just one more thing to the town manager. You know, there was talk about money for ARPA signs which is great for the youth, but is there any way that we could maybe make an agenda item to talk about ARPA funds to help people with the cost of relocation and or possible homelessness that are being, from Groton, from these areas? I mean, some people, $500 could go a long way to help with a security deposit to be able to put down on a house. So those are those funds I was talking about before. So I would love to bring that back to the table to talk about, because we have a need right now.
Up to the council, whatever the council wishes.
So would you like me to send that as a referral? Would that be the best way to send it?
If you would like to, yes.
Perfect. I'll be sending a referral then, asking that we look at the ARPA funds to help our residents in need that are going to be coming faced with homelessness, maybe possibly relocation fees and or security deposits in the next 30 days, and see if we can bring some of that money back to help people. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, personnel and appointments, Chair Jones.
No meeting, no report.
Okay, Councilor Parker for rules.
We had our meeting, and the item is up for discussion tonight. On March 10th, I apologize, March 10th, we had our meeting. So.
All right, public safety, Chair Rusk is not here this evening. Councilor Bordelon.
Could the person of the rules go over the highlights now before, because it would be good so I can prepare my notes. It would be give your report, an official report, because why wait?
I'm presenting Madam Mayor, may I?
You may.
I'm presenting the item as agenda item 2024-233 is item number 9, and I will provide the update, which is also in the packet already. And there's information in our packet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's see. Who was the last person? Gajewski. All right. Moving on to new business, we have 2024-201-1 Groton Public Schools CT Grown for Connecticut Kids Grant. Councilor McBride, would you like to take that? I believe it is on page 28.
Yes. Resolution approving the Connecticut Grown for Kids grant in the amount of $250,000 for the Groton Board of Education. Whereas the Groton Board of Education applied for and was awarded the Connecticut Grown for Kids CT G4 CTK grant by the State of Connecticut Department of Agriculture in the amount of $250,000 with a grant period of 24 months. And whereas the Groton Board of Education plans to utilize the funds to construct and install a 40-foot by 8-foot self-contained hydroponic center adjacent to Thames River Elementary School. And whereas the grant funding will also include the salary for a farm-to-school educational coordinator that will provide hands-on curriculum in biology and environmental science to students. And whereas the center will be used to grow year-round fresh produce for students and their families using simplified hydroponics, now therefore be it resolved that the town council authorize the town manager, John Burke, to act on behalf of the town of Groton to execute any and all documents and to perform all acts and things deemed necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of the grant program, to accept the grant in the amount of $250,000 and to refer the line item to the RTM per rule 6.5.3.
Second. Moved by McBride, seconded by Parker. All right, so we've had full discussion on this at the council, committee of the whole, and I don't know if there's anything new that might have popped up since then. It is Councilor Bordelon.
I don't know if there's anything new, but I think some people don't watch every meeting, so it's always important to give the cliff notes or highlights. And again, I think this is a great opportunity for Groton. I think it's great for children to have the chance. Maybe they don't have the exposure at home or they don't have the land to grow things, and any chance we can get kids involved in nature and learning how to sustain themselves in a world where costs are rising for produce and things like that. I think this is great, a great opportunity, and it has a chance for the town to grow, the school to grow all year round because it will be climate controlled within the containment. So very excited for the opportunity, hoping to see where it goes, and excited for the opportunity that students may be able to take home fresh produce to their homes. So really excited to see where it goes. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to note that Councilor Rusk showed up at 8:22. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any more hands, so let's vote on 2024-206-1, Groton Public Schools, Connecticut, Grown for Connecticut Kids Grant. Motion by McBride, seconded by Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All righty, we have 8-0. Up next, 2024-234-1, American Rescue Plan Act, Human Services Allocation. Councilor Jones, would you like to take that?
Item 2024-234, American Rescue Plan Act, Human Services Allocation. Resolved that the Town Council approves $50,000 to be allocated from the American Rescue Plan Act Fund to the Human Services Department to be utilized for mortgage rent payment, and utilize those that have been financially impacted by the COVID pandemic, and to refer the item to the RTM per rule 6.5.3. So moved.
Second, Bordelon.
All right, moved by Jones, seconded by Bordelon. Councilor Bordelon.
Yeah, again, we're talking about all these folks and almost 85-something units of people, and there's money in there. And it, as it states in here, available for rents and different things. We have money available. We have people in crisis in our town that are about to experience a major crisis. I'd like to make a motion to, make a new amendment motion to this floor. I'd like to move the amount of $100,000 total. That locks it in. There's still ARPA funds. I have to get a second, sorry.
McBride will second for discussion.
There's still ARPA funds trickling into this account. It won't deplete it fully. It was stated tonight that there's a chance that there is possibly a thing coming forward for some field signs, which I love. But those signs aren't going to feed our homeless and our hungry and our people that are going to be displaced. This is a time right now to act and let the community know we're behind them. We don't have control because that developer or whatever areas are being relocated, they have a right to do under those things. And we need to support our community that could be displaced. So this is a time to act now, and I hope I can get the council's support. Thank you.
Councilor Gajewski.
Point of information. I know we voted on this amendment in Cal. Are we allowed to reconsider it?
You can make amendments here, yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to.
Yeah,
thank you.
No problem. Councilor Rusk.
So we talked about this at the committee of the whole, and yes, I do believe that feeding people in our community is very important. Unfortunately, this resolution does not include feeding people. So it talks about using money for mortgage and rent payments and for utilities. So no place in here does it talk about feeding people. I would like to hold off on that extra $50,000, see what we need in the future, and if we need to feed people in the future, then we need to put that in the resolution. But that is, food is not included in this, and I think that that is, if that's what we're going to do, then it's important that we put that in there.
May I do a point of clarification?
Point of order, there's no such thing as a point of
Well,
clarification.
what would you like me to use, just to clarify?
It's point of information?
Point of information, thank you. I also stated for rent assistance and housing, so that states it in here. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor McBride.
I'm supporting this motion. I don't want to get into details because we beleaguered this at the committee the whole meeting, but I support it for the recent notice by Eversource and how they're going to be turning off utilities for numerous residents due to the notices that came down. So I support it, but I've already talked about it at great length, so thank you.
All right, so I'm going to just jump in here and say that the resolution on the floor is about those who are impacted by the COVID pandemic. And from what I understand, it means like you lost your job during COVID and you're still struggling to catch up now. You were impacted during COVID. You got sick. You were in the hospital for a long time and you couldn't work and you were impacted financially by COVID. You have to somehow connect the dots to receive any of this funding that you were impacted by COVID. I understand that people would like to help the situation that's going on right at this moment, but I don't know if you can connect those dots with this resolution on the floor by increasing the dollars. So I would like to leave it, the resolution on the floor, and we will have a future conversation. And that's where I stand. So I will be supporting the motion on the floor. Councilor Bordelon.
It's definitely dot connectable. I can look at my earnings since COVID and know that mine have gone down. Working in the medical field, working in ambulatory surgery where we were putting scopes down people's throat and putting ourselves at risk at the time. I was working from 5 days down to 2. Okay, so I could connect the dots and say I fall within this realm. Now, am I okay? Yeah, thank God my husband had a state job. Did we lose revenue? Absolutely. And that revenue could have went to my son's college tuition, but it won't now. My savings did take a hit on my personal savings. You can't say that signs are not directly related to, in my opinion, exactly, it's a structure change, which can fall under. Absolutely, I'm sure that probably more than 50% of the people that may eventually experience some form of need coming up will be able to draw those parallels to COVID. The area in which this is affecting is a section of town overwhelmingly that has asked for support and needs support and asks sometimes and feels, that some have said to me they feel overlooked at times even. So absolutely they have been affected by COVID. But to say that we might need some ball signs or some field signs.
Point of order?
You are really taking a leap here, Councilor Bordelon. I did not say that. I was giving you the information that somebody else may be coming. Okay. Please don't put words in anybody's mouth.
I didn't put your words in your mouth.
I feel like you are.
Well,
I feel like you are.
That's a feeling. I'm simply stating.
When you say you and
I said it was brought
Point of
forward.
order, decorum.
Yeah, I agree.
Your point of order, Councilor Parker.
Bringing up the signs is not part of the discussion this evening on the item on the floor. The item on the floor is to either give $100,000 or $50,000 according to the ARPA funds. So please let it be germane to the topic at hand.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the topic at its hand is, yes, structurally, when we look at ARPA funding, we've given it to all areas. Overwhelmingly, we've only given $300,000 out of how much, John, did you say we got?
Around 8.1, a little more.
8.1
million.
$8.1 million has come through this town. And this fund says it can be used, listen to what it says, it can be used for housing and everything, but we've used it for a lot of other things that don't effectively direct housing. We did some infrastructure changes and other things, which is great. So my goal is to move this money in here, and absolutely people were affected by COVID at all levels. So it's a choice of the council, but I'm not going to give up the fight kind of advocating for the community. There is a strong parallel there. To say there's not is not right either. I find that to be offensive. Absolutely, there is a thing. And I didn't say just food, housing, rent assistance, living cost, all the things that are encompassed here. So we're talking about nearly another $50,000 after $8-point-something million came through. And I guess really quick to the town manager, where did the largest portion of our money go to in our town? Infrastructure or?
Point of order, Kim, point of order.
Yes, it's regarding ARPA. It is true.
Point of order.
Your point of order.
Discussing the ARPA funds only for human services, not discussing any other items at this time. We are supposed to be talking about human services only. If we could stick to the topic, please, at hand.
Councilor Borderline, would you just try and keep it to the topic that is on the motion on the floor, please?
Right, and
Thank
it
you.
is, because we're talking about how to allocate ARPA funding.
No.
Can you not interrupt me, please? Thank you. Respectfully. Any other time we talk about it, it's ARPA funding as a pot that we're allocating. And we're allocating, yes, $50,000, but we're talking about ARPA money as a whole. And my question to the town manager is, what's the largest bracket that this money went to?
Infrastructure.
Thank you. So here we have $300,000 only going to our most needy.
Thank you. Does anybody else have comments? Councilor Parker.
This evening, thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening's topic is discussing the Human Services Department and giving them the money from ARPA funds only. We are not discussing any other topics of where the money went to, because we're trying to make this germane to the topic at hand. It was requested that we give $50,000, and I believe the director was okay with the $50,000 for now. Yes, there are steps that have to be done. That is not for the council to decide how the ARPA funding, the $50,000 is to be allocated. That would be by Human Services to confirm if the person was impacted by COVID, not the council's decision. So I'm going to stick with the $50,000, and all other things that are coming about the previous topics earlier. We are trying to find different avenues that may be able to assist more, as well as be able to do what we can do at the same time. So if we can just stick to this topic at hand regarding mortgages, rents, payments, and utilities for human services. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gajewski.
This is fun. There we go. Madam Mayor, I actually have a question for you, and it's more of a rules question, and you may direct it to the Committee of the Rules Chair. If this amendment fails, this goes back to my earlier point, if this fails, we cannot vote on this again for a year, correct?
That's correct, without the support of 6 councilors.
So, you know what, I'm just gonna let it run. So, if it fails tonight, it would need 6 counselors.
To bring it back.
To bring it back. So if Human Services did come back and say they needed an additional $50,000, we would need 6 counselors to approve of that, correct?
I don't believe so.
Yes.
Because you're doing a joint, if you do a joint one amended, that's for 100,000. If you do it later for just 50, it would be different.
If this failed right now, both of these failed tonight.
If both failed, yes.
Then it takes 6 to bring it back.
Or adjust it, or adjust the request, yep.
If both of them failed, we would have to get 6
If they both
councilors.
failed, yes.
Yes. If the amended failed, we have the main motion on the floor, and that could potentially still pass. But if that one failed as well, then you need 6 to bring it back.
But since it's an amendment, it's not an additional agenda item, we can add $50,000?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You can amend.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then I just wanted that information before I voted.
Okay. Councilor Pacino.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, we voted on this last week in Cal. Was it last week? Was it the week before? It was last week in Cal. When we're done here, whether it's 100 or 50,000, Mr. Burt, how fast will it be in the Human Services account?
Depends. We're sending it 653 to the RTM, which meets next Wednesday, because this has to be approved by the RTM. So if they can hold a committee in time, it would be Wednesday night that it gets approved. You know, if they couldn't, it could be potentially another month. They also have the option of suspending the rules. So between 5 weeks to 9 or 10 weeks. It all depends on how fast it goes.
Okay, so we have that option. It's not overnight, but it's not 6 months to a year. Okay, I'm okay with with just the 50,000 right now.
All right, Councilor Rusk.
Thank you. As we discussed at the Committee of the Whole, I don't think any of us well, I'm going to speak for me. As we discussed at the Committee of the Whole, I am not opposed to spending $100,000 and giving that to Human Services. One, I would like it to be broader on what it can be used, hopefully next time. But we have until the end of December to spend this money.
To allocate it.
To allocate it, I'm sorry, to allocate this money. And I understand it needs to go through the RTM as well. So maybe a little less time than that. If Human Services needs more money, I would absolutely ask them to come back to talk with Town Manager Burt. Would be happy to allocate more money to Human Services. I understand the amazing work that Human Services does. I would like food included in this, if at all possible, because I think that that's a huge part of the concern of people right now. I don't want to allocate $100,000 tonight because that was not what was brought before us. I would like to have a little bit of flexibility, where it goes to, and two, when it goes. So if Human Services runs through this $50,000 and needs more, by all means, I'm happy to go back and say yes. And I feel like that was the consensus of the council. So I will be voting for $50,000 tonight. Would be very happy to come back in a month or so, if 2 months, 3 months, if they need more. Thank you.
Councilor Parker.
Madam Mayor, may I say where the rule is?
For which rule?
About the matter, once it has been rejected or decided. It's on page 7 of our rules. Once a matter has been rejected or decided substantially, the same matter may not be the subject of a referral for 12 months, or unless the council recommends the referral with 6 votes in favor. So we have to make it, once we make a decision, be it a rejection or a decision or in the affirmative, can't bring it up for 12 months unless it comes up differently, not the same matter, or the council agrees by 6 votes.
Correct. Thank you.
Point of information?
Yes.
I'm confused no more than before. So my understanding is if we give $50,000 now, we could give $50,000 later.
We could, yes.
Do we need 6 votes to get it there?
We're going to need 6 votes to have a discussion on it, yes. Because a decision has been made unless the referral is different than what we have here. So I think, I will say that I've heard from numerous people here that do want to have that discussion again. I've heard it from it. I think it should be a referral. We can do that right now. I think actually when we get, do not adjourn too quickly this evening. When we get to open agenda items, we will have a discussion and we will discuss this. And if we have the 6 supporters, that means it can go back onto our agenda again. And we can do that right here, quick and easy, without having to go through the email system of trying to find support. But maybe we can just tweak it a bit or even have the same thing. It's up to the council, but if you get the 6 supports, it can come back. Understood?
Yes.
It's decided whether it fails or passes. It's like it's a decided item and you're not supposed to bring it back for a year unless you have at least 6 people supporting it.
Point of information. information.
Yes.
If we did not have the amended motion and we passed the $50,000 tonight, it could come back again, correct?
Same thing happens. You still
Same
need
thing
6.
happens?
No matter what, you need 6 people. After it's
If it wasn't
decided,
rejected?
whether it fails or passes, you need 6 people to bring it back. It is a rule.
Okay, thank you.
It's decided.
Thank you.
Okay. Think we're good? All right, so we are currently voting on the amended motion, which changes it to $100,000 to be allocated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
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 Abstentions?
Aye.
All right. So that fails 2 to 5 to 1. Main motion is now on the floor for $50,000. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So that passes 8 to 0 to 0. So, moving on. Up next is 2024-248-1, Police Substation Lease, 99 Gold Star Highway. Counselor Russ, would you like to take the reading of that?
Thank you. Item number 2024-248, Police Substation Lease, 99 Gold Star Highway. Resolved that the Town Council approves a lease with 99 Gold Star Highway Owner LLC, with the initial terms being 10 years at the yearly cost of $100. I so move.
Second?
Moved by Russ, seconded by Bordelon. All right, hold on just a moment. Okay, we have any, Counselor Bordelon.
Just as I stated before, I think it's a great asset to have that kind of availability on that side of town. As it's been stated, there's been many issues up and down that strip, and we are in between 2 major casinos, and there are some issues that propose as concerns, and I think it's a good opportunity to have the accessibility.
Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Burt, I know at our last meeting we had discussed that maybe you could do like a very soft background check, not a very official police kind of thing, but what came from that?
Yeah, I spent a few hours looking at it. Nothing of concern. You know, it's the agreements with 99 Gold Star Highway, the parent companies, Good Homes Communities, Principal Officer David Mitchell. You'll see a lot of articles about developments they've done around. Nothing, couldn't find any criminal things. There's some regular court cases as you would with a developer, but nothing of particular interest.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for doing that for us. Okay, seeing no other hands, take a vote on the police substation, moved by Russ, seconded by Bordelon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That also passes 8 to 0 to 0. All right, on to 2024-257-1, Nature Everywhere Grant. Counselor Bocchino, would you like to take that?
Yes. Oh, I'm not going to read the whole thing, though. Okay. Item 2024-257, Nature Everywhere Grant. Be it resolved that the Town Council authorizes Town Manager John Burt to execute all required documents for the Nature Everywhere Grant, accept the grant funding in the amount of $40,000 for seed funding to refer to the matter and refer the matter to the RTM per Rule 5 Tech. I'm a 6. I look, you know, right. 653.
Second?
All right, moved by Pacino, seconded by Bordelon. Counselor Bordelon.
Just, again, another great opportunity for the children to be engulfed in the nature and outside, exploring and doing things. As we have expanded a lot of our open space here, I think it's a great opportunity to be able to utilize those and get kids outside, so in full support. And thanks to the Board of Education for seeking this.
Okay, seeing no other comments, let's vote on Town of Groton. oh, I meant Nature Everywhere grant. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that passes 8-0. On down to 2023-503-5, Town of Groton Climate Resiliency Plan Grant. All right, Counselor Parker, would you like to take that?
Resolution endorsing the acceptance of the Climate Resilience Fund grant to develop the Town of Groton Climate Resilience Plan, whereas DEEP issued the first Climate Resilience Fund, CRF, solicitation in September 2022. The fund, which was established through Executive Order 21-3, provides financial support to Connecticut communities to develop climate plans and resiliency-focused projects, and whereas the Office of Planning and Development, OPDS, submitted a proposal to the program to support the development of the Town of Groton Climate Resilience Plan in November 2022. Whereas the plan to be developed through this grant will set the course for how the town will accomplish the commitments made in the March 2021 resolution of commitment to address climate change, resiliency, and sustainability as a central management principle for all actions of the town for the town government, and will define the priorities to be pursued by the Sustainability and Resilience Manager in the upcoming years. And whereas having the plan will be essential for the pursuit of other funding opportunities, many of which require that the project for which funding is requested was named in a prior planning effort, and whereas on June 14th, 2023, the state announced the projects to be awarded funding, which included $200,000 for the Town of Groton OPDS proposal. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council endorses the acceptance of the CRF award, authorizing Town Manager John Burke to sign all required grant documents for such program. I so move.
Second, Bordelon.
All right, moved by Parker. Seconded by Bordelon. And just to remind the community that these are discussions that we have in full at our committee of the whole meeting. And this is typically where you only comment if there was new information and we need to bring that forward. Do we have any comments? Councilor Bordelon.
I think this is a great opportunity. I know some people have asked about, the impact of hiring someone in the position to oversee, climate and sustainability, and I'm just very proud that, the opportunities that have been presented in grants and offerings that have come forward ever since the council signed that agreement to be a more resilient and sustainable community. So happy to be a part of that and happy to have been part of the council that agreed to that. So this is a great step forward.
Okay, I don't see any further comments. Let's take a vote now on the Fair Housing Action Plan. Oh, I'm sorry.
Resilience.
I'm sorry, the climate resiliency. I'm sorry about that. Moved by Parker, seconded by Bordelon. I'm so sorry. I was reading the wrong line. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I see that passing 8-0. Now we're moving on to the Fair Housing Action Plan. Councilor Gajewski, would you like to move that one?
I would be honored, Madam Mayor. Resolution, oh, got it. Of course, I'm on the wrong one.
Page 34.
Yep.
35 and 36.
Motion to approve the resolution adopting the Fair Housing Action Plan for 2024 to 2027. Whereas the Congress of the United States in 1866 has declared the citizens of the United States shall have the same rights to inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey real and personal property. Whereas the Congress of the United States has further declared by the Civil Rights Act of 1968, known as the Fair Housing Act, Public PL 9284, 18 U.S. Code 245, hereinafter called the Act, that it is the policy of the United States to provide within constitutional limitations for fair housing throughout the United States. thereby prohibiting discrimination by reason of race, color, religion, national origin, or sex in the sale or rental of housing. And whereas Section 808 and 809 of the Act provide that the authority and responsibility for administering the Act shall be vested in the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, hereinafter called the Secretary, and the Secretary is required to cooperate with and render technical assistance to private agencies, groups, and institutions which are formulating or carry on programs to prevent or eliminate discriminatory housing practices and to undertake conciliatory activities which will further the purpose of the fair housing and to work programs of voluntary compliance with the cooperation and advice of the housing industry and other interested persons. And whereas the town of Groton believes that the national policy of fair housing can effectively be promoted throughout programs of affirmative action in the private housing industry and markets, and whereas the town of Groton believes it is desirable to establish a local fair housing plan for the purpose of effectuating the requirements of all applicable fair housing laws. Now therefore, in order to encourage public and private cooperation in achieving fair housing through affirmative action and other evidence, the town of Groton establishes the Fair Housing Action Plan for 2024. So moved.
Second, Joan?
Moved by Gajewski, seconded by Jones. And Mr. Burt, there's no actual like resolved in it, but it just leads into what the whole statement is, the whole policy. So
Right.
that's all that has to be
Yes.
put into there, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. As stated, full discussions were held in COW. Are there any comments? All right, seeing none, I will take a vote on the Fair Housing Action Plan, moved by Gajewski, seconded by Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that's 8-0 to 0. Up next is the 2024-260-1 Small Cities Community Development Block Grant, public hearing date. Counselor McBride, would you like to take that?
Sure. Resolution to set a public hearing for the Small Cities CDBG Program 2024 application. Whereas the United States Department of HUD allocates an annual amount of funding to the state of Connecticut for the purpose of distribution under the CDBG program, a competitive program for eligible municipalities. And whereas in 2019, the town of Groton was awarded a grant of $1.5 million for public housing modernization at Mystic River Homes, an independent elderly disabled low-income housing provider, which was completed in June 2022. And whereas this year's $2 million CDBG grant request, up to the maximum allowable grant funding available under the Small Cities Development Block Grant Program, will be sought to provide for capital improvement upgrades to Mystic River Homes as a public housing modernization project. And whereas the Connecticut DOH application deadline is May 31st, 2024, and prior to submission of the application, DOH requires the town to conduct a public hearing to satisfy citizen participation requirements. Now there it be resolved that the town council hold a public hearing on the town of Groton's Small Cities CDBG Grant 2024 application on Tuesday, May 7th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the Community Room 1 at the Town of Groton Town Hall Annex.
Second, Bordelon?
All right, moved by McBride, seconded by Bordelon. I don't see any comments, and as I've stated, this is usually fully discussed in COW, and so let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That is passing 8-0 to 0. Up next, 274, Affordable Housing Letter to Planning and Zoning. Counselor Jones, you want to take that one? It is the addition to our packet that was given to us.
Oh, right here, I got it. Item number 2024-274, Affordable Housing Letter to the PCC. Resolution authorizing letter to be sent to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission to request consideration of recommendations from the Groton Affordable Housing Plan. Resolved that the Town Council approves of sending a letter by way of the Town Mayor, Rachel Franco, to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission to respectfully request that they review the zoning regulations and make any of the following recommended changes from the GAHP as they deem appropriate. Consider R7 and/or R12 zoning districts for additional allowed housing typologies, 3 to 4 unit buildings or more. Consider adding an open space subdivision district with smaller lot size requirements possibly in the 5 to 10 acre range. Current district requires 20 acres. Consider ability to add units at existing mobile home parks if land is available and standards can be met. New mobile home parks are not currently allowed in Groton. Consider allowing with the design guidelines or conditions and in locations with sewer and water in place. Consider some changes to the accessory dwelling unit regulations. And finally, consider some changes to encourage senior housing and accessible units. So moved.
Second, Franco.
Who second?
Franco took the second on that one. Thank you. Counselor Bordelon.
Yeah, I got a lot of comments about this. A lot of people are not understanding. Maybe the town manager can restate on the record the point number 2. Can you address that one?
In terms of,
Like what that means?
it's hard to explain, but it's a configuration that allows for smaller lots so that you have more left in one contiguous open space. So, but then also they're looking at allowing it on smaller acreage. So it's.
May I just jump in real quick? Mr. Burt, you had sent, we had a discussion on it, and you sent a photo. By any chance, do you have that photo anywhere that you could put it up on a visual? Because honestly, visually seeing it, it makes a world of difference.
Can you give me a moment?
And then while he's doing that, my other question was since we got this tonight as an addition to the agenda, when was it posted?
Yesterday.
Okay. What time?
Around 3.
Okay, so I'm at the 24-hour mark. Thank you.
Point of information?
Your point of information.
Was this, Madam Mayor, was this discussed at the COW last?
It was discussed, but we didn't have a visual, so if you can see the visual, I think it will make even people at home understand what it is.
But
this was fully discussed at the COW, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
This
it was just not added on until afterwards.
Correct.
There was a clerical incident that forgot to put it into our packets is that my understanding?
Yes, similar to that, yes. But as you stated, it was a full discussion in our COW. It was passed, and
consensus.
There was a vote on it, and it
Thank you.
passed.
I found it, now I have to get it to where I can see it.
Oh, you better email it to yourself.
I got it here.
No, he found it. Now he's got to get it to himself to be able to put it on the screen.
Almost got it.
All right.
All the pressure.
Nobody's looking at you, it's okay.
Okay, here it is. So you can see on the left there, a traditional thing, a traditional more subdivision where you have larger lots, and you see the bit of green space there. With the one on the right, you have smaller lots, and you can see how much more green space that allows for. That's essentially what the concept is.
Can you just make that a little bigger, and can you also add this into the agenda packet? I think like these changes weren't, I think people are visualists, and I think there's been a lot of questions, and that information's nowhere in the packet. It's great when it's sent to counselors, but the community also should see it, so.
Point of information, wasn't it in our cow packet?
This wasn't, no.
No,
this
was
wasn't,
not.
okay.
Thank you.
Thought it was.
Constantly correcting.
This is,
But looking at this, I think it's the same amount of lots. It's just how you.
There's just smaller lots, so you have more open space.
Right. So instead of, overall, this would be on 20 acres of land. And what we're saying to the planning and zoning, can you potentially make a neighborhood like this on maybe 5 to 10 acres of land instead of expecting it to be on 20 acres of land?
Can you add this into the packet for like the minutes and stuff too? I think it'd be helpful.
I can, it's just though a random sample out there, so it's not out of our materials, so just to make that clear.
Okay. And the other question that people were asking is, the R7 to R12. Do you have any way to explain that or any other?
I can tell you that R12 is just one single and two-family residents allowed in them. Let me look up R7. Let's see, the intent of R7 zoning encompasses the densest residential area that surrounds the mixed-use core of historic Mystic Village. That's in our current zoning. Let's see. So it looks like generally smaller, at the look of it, smaller lots allowed than you would on regular, on some of the other single family.
Yeah. Okay. And then some people asked questions, considering to add units at existing mobile homes, parks, if land is available and then standards can be met. Someone was asking, does it also mean adding additional land used for more mobile homes or just expanding the already established ones? That was a few questions I had asked.
The affordable housing plan passed by the council, one of the recommendations was for both options to be considered or at least researched.
Yeah. All right, and I guess this letter, it was a consensus of the council to move forward. I was not in favor because I don't think it's our purview to direct planning and zoning and send a letter to them, so.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I'm being interrupted again.
I'm sorry.
I'm fine talking, I can talk over them. They have hard, they're older and they have hard, I'm fine talking.
Yes, but I'm trying to listen to you.
You can't hear me?
I can now.
Okay, I'll speak louder. I am fine with, all of these items, but they need to be discussed. I do not feel that we had enough deliberation on these items to send direction to planning and zoning. So that's why I'm not in favor of sending a letter, and that's the reason I voted that way. To the town manager, just make sure it states that it's consensus, it was not all council, and I think you should name which councilors wanted it to go forward. Thank you. And if not, I will send my own email to planning and zoning stating that I was not part of that consensus vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And as it states in here, there is no direction. We are not telling planning and zoning what they have to do or what they should do. We're asking them to simply look at these items. We are asking them to look at the items and make a decision themselves. We are not giving them any direction. We are just simply saying these are out of the plan, the housing plan, and to review the zoning regulations and make any of the following recommended changes from the housing study as they deem appropriate. Not how we deem it, but how they deem it. And how it works is we When there is a letter being sent, it usually is sent from the council. And we've had this debate before, and that's why usually when it's anything political outside of internal, like even if we're sending a referral to a committee, we say it's from the council. And even if you voted against sending the referral to the committee, it is from the council because it passed as a majority vote. That's just how the business is taken up. Now, that is also why we don't, there are letters that they've asked us to send to the state of Connecticut, and we say, take it up as your own, on your own. That is probably not a council decision to do. But this is a council decision, and we usually state it is a council decision. All right, with no other comments, we'll be voting on 2024-274 Affordable Housing Letter to Planning and Zoning Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? That passes 7 to 1 to 0.
Just a clarifying question for the town manager.
What is that?
I just want to make sure I can just send in a letter on my own behalf and just say that I was not in support of that. Is that correct?
But any counselor can.
Perfect, thank you. I'll just forward my own letter. Thank you.
Sorry, Matt. I'm afraid this is probably unintentional, but actual incursion on rights of planning and zoning.
We can't have dialogue with the galley at this time. I'm sorry.
I had to say it.
I can recognize him, right? I'll recognize him.
Item number 2024-233. We don't even have a motion on the floor to talk about anything.
I can't, when can you use that to recognize somebody?
2024-233.
Can you answer me, please? I'm asking to be recognized. I know that we have that ability to allow someone to take a turn and speak.
You do have that, but there is no motion on the floor for anybody to speak on anything at the moment.
But you're allowed to
You
give
can't
it at
just
any point.
speak
But he had
with
a
nothing up.
point that he wanted to bring forward, and I'd like to recognize him.
I understand, but without a motion on the floor, there is nothing to speak to. You can't speak to nothing. You have to have a motion on the floor, so I'm going to be putting another motion on the floor. If you want to give him time to speak under rules, he has to stay germane to the rules.
Okay, so when can I allow him? That's what I was asking.
He can speak under rules, but then he can only speak about the rules and procedures that we're talking about under the 34th Town Council. We have already voted on affordable housing and moved on.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
So 2024-233, Councilor Rusk, would you like to take that one?
Yes, resolution amending rules for the 34th Town Council. Whereas the Town Council meeting on February 6, 2024, whereas at the Town Council meeting on February 6, 2024, the Town Council adopted the 34th Town Council Rules and Procedures, and whereas at the March 6, 2024 meeting, the Town Council Rules and Procedures Committee recommended that items reviewed and approved at the Committee of the Whole meeting with majority of vote be put under the consent calendar section. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council amends the rules and procedures of the 34th Council with the following changes to be effective immediately. Agenda of Committee of the Whole approved items under Rule 7-Order of Business and Agenda Section 6 Consent Calendar Item C, and amending the current item C deletion/additions to the Town Council referral list as item D. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Russ, seconded by Parker. Councilor Parker, would you like to give us a presentation on your?
Well, yes, and I would also like to make an amended motion, because since we can change at the time. So we had our meeting on March 6th, and we discussed the item to streamline our town business. Once we approve everything at the Committee of the Whole, we come back to the council, and we again discuss the items. Though we've discussed them at Committee of the Whole, the suggestion was to put it under the consent calendar because all of our items we've basically approved to move forward to the Town Council. just to streamline the process, because we do take a lot of items up. And the second item, because of that, we feel the meetings will go more efficiently. Am I missing anything? Am I missing anything? No. And so my motion to change something is going to be, I'd like to remove, be it resolved that the town council amends the rules of procedure of the 34th council with the following changes to be effective immediately. The addition of committee of the whole approved items under Rule 7, order of business and agenda, section 6, consent calendar to item C, and to delete the current item C, the deletions, additions from the town council referral list to item D, because those referral items are under section other business, are open agenda items.
So instead of it saying on the second sentence, amending, you want to say and delete.
I want to delete that line. I want to delete the deletions and additions from the town council rules.
You want to delete this, but you're changing the word amending to the words and delete, or do you just want the whole second sentence withdrawn?
I want that removed.
All right.
Yes, I want to remove current item C from deletions.
Second, Gieske.
So we're going to remove the second sentence,
And-
or second bullet point.
Second bullet point, so that it's only going to be 3 items under, only 3 items
Point of
under.
order. The
Only
clock
3
has not been running. Sorry.
Point of information, it's a presentation, correct, Madam Mayor?
It is a
She
presentation.
put an amendment on the floor. That's not a presentation.
Do you have anything else to add?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, start the clock, please.
Be fair across the board.
And point of order,
Yes, your point of order.
decorum, please.
Thank you.
So, as I was trying to state, so it will be 3 items under the consent calendar under Rule 7, order of business. So it will be approval of minutes, administrative items, and committee of the whole approved items. And we're taking away section D on page 3 of our current rules, potential
Point of
rules.
information,
Your point of information.
just for clarification, item D, the deletion and additions was in the original. My apologies. I don't have my rules in front of me tonight. I know. It was in there originally, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I believe we would have to remove it by saying delete current item D, not just take it out. Are we saying and delete? I'm sorry, I might be confused.
I did.
So the second would say and delete the current item C deletions, additions from the town council referral list.
All right.
Period?
That's what I was trying, yeah.
Okay. So we have to take off 2 item D at the end of that sentence. So change the word amend to delete and take off 2 item D.
Okay.
Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm done. Oh,
Point of information.
Are you all set?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Counselor Bordelon.
So for a presentation, it would be good to read the full paragraph, the items being deleted and added, because people at home might not be able to follow this, so it'd be good to have those sections read. Like not just say section this, that, like read that paragraph. What are we doing? So, you know, I have it in front of me, but, you know, like, it would be great to read it onto the record. What does this mean? What are you adding? What are you removing? And read it in its entirety.
Point of information?
Your point of information.
Did I just read the whole section? I read the whole section into record and then said I was going to remove it.
think you did read it all into the record, yes, that's correct.
But at the beginning, the other parts weren't read. So it's fine. If you want to do it that way, it's up to you. Just saying.
All right, any discussion? Because we have not had a discussion on this at our COW. This goes through the Rules Committee and then comes to us as a recommendation, and this is where we have our discussion now. All right, any comments, questions, concerns? All right, so I do. Oh, Councilor McBride.
Yeah, I
Go
just
ahead.
want to state, just for the record, that it's on the committee, it's on the consent agenda, so it's going to move through quicker, it's going to be a more efficient process. However, there is still the opportunity where, in the event at the council committee meeting, such as this evening, if residents do have concerns or comments that were discussed at the committee of the whole that are in the council package, if they have objections to what the committee of the whole is doing or moving forward with, this council can still hear those comments, react to those comments, and it would be on the consent agenda, but it would take 2/3, and sorry, I'm having a trouble time with my cold, so. If there's comments from the, let me just finish 1 second, please. If the residents have concerns over the items that are on the council agenda that were previously discussed in the committee of the whole, this council can, with 2/3 majority, take it out of the consent agenda, pull it out of the consent agenda to be discussed. So it's not a matter of pushing it through the council, it's getting it through the council if everything has been discussed, debated, gone through, and this council still feels that it can move forward without ending continuous debate and continuous discussion to make things more efficient. So I just want to make sure it's clear that it's not just going through necessarily as the minutes are sometimes. If the council feels an item should be discussed, the council can pull that with 2/3 of agenda. So, thank you. 2/3 of a vote of the council. Thanks.
Yeah, I know, that's why, I said, that's why, did you want me to talk? So
No,
we could
no, good.
Okay.
Councilor Bordelon.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's not a surprise. Most of the rules have been changed in ways, in my opinion, and I speak for myself, that change the discourse of, do you want to point a word at me? Is that what you're speaking about over there? Because you're whispering, just like looking at other people. I'm just giving you the chance to do it now. Am I on, okay?
Councilor Bordelon, you're out of order.
Okay, I just
You're
didn't know
out
what
of
the side
order.
comments were.
You're out
Just
of
me.
order.
Okay. Just didn't, I saw a side comment, so I was waiting.
I
for
saw
the-
no side
Okay.
comments. I was looking over there, I saw no side
Okay,
comments.
it was an I expression, so usually that follows with a point of order, so I was just preparing.
All right, we're going to take a 10-minute recess now. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
We're back from a short recess. It's now 9:32, and we are going to continue the discussion on Town Council 34th Rules and Procedures. Council Bordelon, you, I believe, still have the floor.
Yep. Again, I have concerns. I think there's other ways we could be more efficient, in my opinion, with time. But pertaining to this particular rule change, I do have concerns about things being pushed through. And I am concerned, you know, it's great when we're up here, but, you know, down the road, do we want to set that precedent and have it where, you know, maybe there's things that you don't want to move at that level to go through as fast. So I will not be supporting the changes on the floor. I think it's very important that we're elected at large to do the people's work. We're individually elected, not as a whole council. Even though we may be all from the same party, I think it's important that we have the chances to deliberate. That's what we're required to do. That's what we're asked to do. And I'm concerned that these changes take away that deliberate process. I agree that sometimes we're here late. There's things, you know, sometimes we get stuff the night of, like we just got some more stuff passed out. It is tough, but we signed up to do the people's work, and it should be done open. And you know, sometimes to allow to wait for 2/3 vote to bring something back up, you know, between the time that we talk about and discuss about something, you could find out more information. And, you know, if you're not on the right side of something, you won't get the votes. So then it can't be brought back up. So then it just speeds through. That's not open, transparent government, in my opinion. So I will not be supporting that. I think it is very important. You shouldn't have to get 2/3 vote. If you find out from a constituent that there's a major concern or change and you want to bring something forward, you should have that opportunity. And this would stifle that and only further disconnect and cause, in my opinion, more divide than there has already been. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other hands up, so I'm going to take my turn now. I have some questions. So I don't mind putting things in the consent calendar and passing them all at once. Things that were approved over at the cow. I do have concerns that if there is something that, just say, I am very passionate for, and maybe I do not want to vote for this, I'm passionately against it. It will be in the consent calendar. I need 2/3 of a vote to try and pull it out, which means on the odds are I'm going to have to vote against everything in the consent calendar. And so if somebody else has something passionate that they're about and it's a different topic, they might vote against everything in the consent calendar as well, which makes it look as though I may be voting against everything, which maybe that's not where I stand, but because I don't want to vote for that one thing, I would be voting against it. I would be in favor of, if it passes unanimously through the cow, putting it maybe in the consent calendar, or something such as grants, that on the norm, if they pass unanimously, there's not much that we have to discuss when it comes to the town council, because grants usually on the norm, just go through. But when it is a topic for like that, I might be the one person that's against it, or anybody here could be against it, and they don't want to vote for the whole consent calendar. I'm wondering what would happen in that situation if I can't get 2/3 and I'm going to vote against the whole thing. I'm going to ask, let me bring this to the chair. What are your thoughts on that matter?
Madam Mayor, we don't even have a full consensus all the time. So most of our items are majority, and we can suspend the rules with 2/3. And I'm following Robert's rules. I'm looking at it. It says you can suspend the rules temporarily to move an item out. We've done it in the past before. It's not a difficult thing to move, especially since we all got the same rule book. Not all of us agree at the same time, because you may have somebody that abstains, so you're not having a full vote. And last week, we didn't have full votes.
Understood, but let's just say something passes at the cow, maybe, let's just say 5-4, and I'm on the side of 4. And when it comes to the consent calendar, it's put in there, and I definitely don't want to vote in favor of it. I have to vote against everything that's in the consent calendar. And that's where I'm sort of having a sort of an issue. Councilor McBride, do you have any thoughts to that?
Yes, my original intent, when I brought this referral to the Rules Committee, was to make the process more efficient. And my original thought process was to bring everything on the consent agenda. And this is extreme, of course, but, so instead of having, pretty much put everything on the consent agenda, but what I was not in favor of, and maybe I didn't think through it properly, was the 2/3 vote. My original thought was, a lot of the things, because Town Manager Byrne and his staff do such a great job, even in the committee of the whole meetings. If the committee of the whole meetings have, let's say, these items that we just had, last couple weeks ago, if all of these matters came on the committee of the whole agenda, and they had enough support and backup and detailed information in them, and we all did our homework, and we all reviewed the information, even during the committee of the whole meeting, sometimes some of those items wouldn't even need to be discussed in the committee of the whole agenda. So my original intention for the referral was not necessarily just the council meetings, but in the committee of the whole meetings, if there's items such as grant matters or such as other matters that, that are no-brainers, that the details in there, the support's in there, there's no real reason for us to discuss it. Why couldn't those just pass on the consent agenda at the committee of the whole meeting? So my original submittal or request for review was to allow more things on the consent agenda in general, not necessarily for the committee, for the council meeting, but on the committee of the whole meetings, we could speed those up further, I thought, because a lot of things we discuss and we spend hours and hours, and not to say some things need that time, because they do, but some things don't. So my thought was, put everything on the consent agenda. If one counselor wants to pull that, they can pull that item, and then it can be discussed. But if counselors see items and they don't need to be pulled, we could go through the items in the committee of the whole meeting, and the committee of the whole meetings would be faster. When we met in the Rules Committee, it kind of changed a little bit to this format. So I just want to explain, that was my original intention. I'm in favor of more efficiency, but I think we could potentially be more efficient without going to this degree, because I somewhat agree with Councilor Bordelon's points that she made earlier. So although I think we can be much more efficient, I think there could be a way to do that in another framework if the council thought that was appropriate. But I think we're not as efficient as we could be, and I think we could add more things to the consent agenda, even at the committee of the whole meetings, if that makes sense.
Well, I believe at the COW, at our committee of the whole meetings, we do not have a consent calendar, and that's one of the issues. We don't have that in there.
Right, and again, my referral was more, how can we get more, how can we become more efficient? And I was new to the committee, this was my first meeting, so I didn't have as much familiarity as I probably should have, but that was the original intent of the referral, was to make changes to make things more efficient, not necessarily go right to the council.
All right, so at the COW, we discuss it, we have full deliberations, and let's just say we vote on it unanimously at the COW. I may not have an issue with that going in the consent calendar, or if it's just a grant, and we pass a grant. But what I have issue with is if something that I do not want to vote in favor of, and it gets in the consent calendar, and I can't get my 2/3 to say, all right, let's pull it, I'm probably going to vote against everything, because that one thing I don't want to vote in favor of. So that is, I wonder, because you had brought this forward because this is what I guess this is something they do in New London. So what do they do in that situation?
In New London, every meeting has a consent agenda, and everything's on the consent agenda. So you could walk into a meeting, it never happens, but you could open up the meeting, open up the consent agenda, and if nobody has issues with any of the information, all of it passes.
Mm-hmm.
But usually what happens over time is that doesn't happen, because you need to ask questions and so forth. But over time, if you're asking questions repeatedly, you kind of work with the staff to make sure they know the questions that are coming, and you just make sure all the information is in the paperwork. Because if it's all there, and all the details are there, there's no need to pull anything. That's kind of the thought process. It's much more efficient if it's all there. Now, granted, if the administration is gaping holes, then somebody's going to pull it, because it doesn't make sense.
But even if it passes at the COW, goes to our town council, and it's a 5-4 vote, and there are people that don't want to vote in favor of it, how do they handle
Well,
it?
theirs a little different. They have 2 meetings a month, and they're both council meetings. So they're not committee meetings. They have, how we have the 1 council meeting, all the work is done at the council. Well, I'm sorry, all the work is done at the committee, all it comes to council. They have council meeting once, the 1st and 3rd of the month, and that's all their work. They don't have the committee. They have 7 subset committees, but they have 2 council meetings. All the items come up under the consent agenda, and if they are not pulled, they automatically pass.
Point of information?
Individually,
Point of-
though, not groups. You know, they can pull.
So their form of government is a little different than ours, so.
Right, but they wouldn't, in their situation, they pull, where you say you may disagree with one, you could actually pull just that one. You
Gotcha.
wouldn't pull all 7 items, you would pull just one.
Right, but in our situation, you would need the 2/3 vote. 'Cause-
Yes.
Okay, so Counselor Jones, what is your point of information?
Through the mayor, my question is, how many people do they need to pull something out? We have 2/3.
He just said 1.
Just one person, so one person can say it and it gets pulled out.
Yes.
Okay. Because that's another way of dealing with that.
The chair, do you have something you would like to add into this?
I was going to ask if our other chairperson could speak.
Other chair.
Counselor Pacino, would you like to add something to this
Other member,
discussion that
sorry.
maybe you have pulled out of
Yes.
this?
Do we have to go by the 2/3?
Yes.
There's no way around that. We
No.
can't just go with a motion in a second.
I'm literally reading Robert's rules.
It's a guideline.
No, no, it's not.
Okay.
Point of
I'm sorry. I also believe that if anybody on this council is passionate enough to say, I really want this one pulled out, I think he or she would get the 6 votes.
I wouldn't count on that. I don't think that you could just count on that. Anybody else have any comments? Counselor Russ? Counselor Russ?
So what I don't want to see is us put it on the consent calendar and then have every single item have somebody say, I want to move this, and then have to do a vote. I just feel like then we're voting again, and it just becomes longer and longer. I don't have a problem with if it was a unanimous decision at the committee of the whole meeting, moving it to a consent calendar and voting on it that way. But if one person said no during the committee of the whole, I'm not in favor of putting it on the consent calendar, because then it will just lead to somebody saying, I want to move this, and then we're basically spending the same amount of time voting to move it. So I would support an amendment to this. Is this already an amendment?
Not yet. We're
Okay.
No, I do have a
Discussion.
There is an amendment.
There is one amendment on the floor, yes.
Can I have a second amendment?
You can.
Okay. So I would be in favor of moving it directly to the committee of the whole if it was approved unanimously.
No.
I'm sorry.
Consent
I would
calendar.
be in favor of moving it to the consent calendar if it was approved unanimously at the committee of the whole.
I'll second that because you're just adding it.
All right, so let's figure out the wording. Addition of committee of the whole approved items. I'm just. where is this agenda?
Unanimously approved.
Consent calendar, item C.
That-
Where should the wording, if,
Committee of the whole unanimously approved items. Unanimously approved items. Can we agree to that? I mean.
that
means-
includes order of business, agenda, section,
It's still the same
consent calendar.
section, just add unanimously before the approved items.
So what it would say is, resolved that the town, let me rephrase that. Resolved that the town council amends the rules and procedures of the 34th council with the following changes to be effective immediately. Addition to committee of the whole unanimously approved items under Rule 7, Order of Business and Agenda, Section 6, Consent Calendar, Item C. And then the second
And
bullet
delete.
is
And delete.
delete the current item C, deletion additions from the town council referral list. And you
I second
that?
it.
Okay.
Point of inquiry?
Your point of information?
Point of information. Damn it, I always get it wrong. If there's only 6 councils here, and they vote 6-0 to 0, is that still unanimous?
It is.
Okay, so if we have 8, and it's 8-0 to 0, it's still unanimous. Okay, just wanted to verify. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot to write down, let me just, Parker had the amended motion. You moved it, who seconded it?
I did.
Thank you. All right. Counselor Gajewski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate my fellow councilors' concerns of the unanimously, and because it's something I hadn't thought about, and I am actually appreciative of the amendment because I do think it is. I appreciate Councilor McBride trying to make our meetings more efficient and unanimously approved. Those are items normally grants, and they are just can go forward, and we can move our streamline our process along. And since it's unanimous, there's nobody that's passionately one way or the other, and one of my fellow councilors is not put in that awkward position, and I would not want that. So I will be in favor of the amendment, and then hopefully the regular motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Jones?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I like this change, adding it in. I think it kind of grants, as Councilor Gajewski just said, most grants pass unanimously, so they kind of get lumped in here, and if all 8 or 9 or whoever is here is fine. And I think, if I'm just correct to Councilor Pacino's, in committee of the whole, it's councilors present, and council, it's the 2/3. It's the unanimous of all 9. I mean, not unanimous.
It's the
majority.
Majority.
Majority of all 9. And we're in the committee of the whole, it's the majority of those present.
Yeah.
There's 2 different ways to do it. Yeah. Committee of the whole is one way and the council is the other way.
We were strictly talking about what was, I was strictly asking about what was considered unanimous.
Yeah, it's different on the different meetings. So I'm going to approve the motion. The new motion is on the floor. I think this solves the problem and takes the majority of things that are passed unanimously. It just kind of moves them through. And we can still pull them out if we want to, if we had 2/3 votes, if somebody really wanted it. So.
Okay, Counselor Bordelon?
Again, I think this is stifling discussion, democracy, and what we're here to do. I could support grants and like the other thing, that the housing thing that we have to pass that we did tonight, that there was no change to. I could totally see those going through. Support Councilor McBride and his decision to look for more efficiencies, but I do not think it's fair to ask a person who already got the votes of the people to ask for a 2/3 vote to remove something that's not unanimous. And even if it is unanimous. My thing is this, or unanimous, sorry. My thing is this. We shouldn't be making decisions in one little closet of a time, and I'll speak for myself, in one snapshot of time. We only have public comment once a month. Democracy is all day long. I actually just had a constituent, we went on recess, call me about housing and looking at the map plan just here tonight. Okay? Now, I will report on that at the next chance I have for public, that I got another, constituent contacted me. But as soon as I walk out of here, the job doesn't stop. People are constantly contacting you, asking you things. So you might vote one way on something and there might be a consensus, but then you might find out later that, oh my gosh, that's on a wetland, or that's close to a brownfield, or this is going on here, or the neighbors in a community over here feel strongly about this. That vote is not set in stone that day, that one chance. The second opportunity is to come forward and be with democracy and do our due diligence and say, you know what? I heard from a lot of people and I am concerned about the way I voted the last time. And that is okay. Just because you vote one way in one meeting, tonight you could have a change of heart. And if I have to wait for 2/3 vote, that's stifling any chance for new information to be put forward. And that's not fair. I can agree with Councilor Franco to an extent on what her concern was, of voting on all of it. Also, we're human. Yesterday, I zoomed in from my son's fencing banquet in the corner before it started because the meeting was only going to be about 30 or 40 minutes, and everyone was eating, I brought my salad, I ate my salad, I zoomed in my little bubble, and I got done just enough time to watch the awards portion. So let's just say 6 counselors are at an event, and say you have a death in the family, you're not there, and there's something about it that you're just not comfortable with. It's gonna go, because everyone was in agreement. You don't have a chance to rebuttal, you need 2/3 vote. I don't think I can put another amendment on the floor at this time, is that correct?
Not at this time.
Right, so I consider council's considering that you don't need 2/3 vote. I can support things moving forward with unanimous consensus, especially grant items or things that, like the town manager says, it's just routine, you gotta push. But I think we have the right to dissent at any moment, and we shouldn't rely on a 2/3 vote. It doesn't mean you're gonna vote for it, but I should have a right to propose my opposition. That minority report is just as important in democracy. So I encourage, when there's a chance to make an amendment, that yes, grant items and things, but not needing a 2/3 vote to remove one out. That's just not fair at all. Thank you.
Councilor Gajewski.
You know, I hear what Councilor Bordelon is saying, but I do respectfully disagree. And the reason I disagree is the 2/3 is part of Robert's rules. There's nothing we can do about it really, except make another amendment, which if Councilor Bordelon has another, I can't read Councilor Bordelon, my colleague's mind, so I don't know what that is. But if you say missed a meeting or there was something or an opinion changed, you can, we always have our councilor communications, but at the start of the meeting, and you can explain during that time that, yes, I'd like it to be taken out of the consent calendar, and I'm going to ask for a 2/3 removal, and explain your reasons why there. Because we understand where it's coming from. So that is where I'm at with it. So, thank you.
Councilor Bordelon.
Thank you. Again, I asked the council not to do this. It's stifling. I can respect the efficiency part, but again, asking for a 2/3 vote is just not fair. You know, asking and using up your communications to plead with the council to ask for them to let it happen, or you miss a meeting and, you know, you have a family obligation or emergency. This is, you know, a volunteer position, and we all have outside responsibilities at time. And that agenda item's on there. The catch basin is the chance that it comes back and one can make an amended motion and bring forward proper, you know, deliberation. So how do other towns do it if it's my first question, if it's part of Robert's rules that it has to be 2/3 vote? How does New London get away with that? Because Robert's rules is across the board. That's my first question. If they don't need 2/3 vote, why do we? Question.
To whom?
Through you to whoever you think could answer it. Councilor Parker, or she's part of the group and was reading the rules and saying it's 2/3 vote. So if that's Robert's
Councilor
rules,
Parker, do you have a response?
My response is, it's written within our rules that we follow Robert's rules. And unless we're changing everything to figure out how else we're going to follow said rules, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank
you. Each group has a different rules. I don't know what their rules are, so I can't speak for other towns and what they do. I know the trainings I've taken, they say it's best to follow Robert's rules, so that's what I'm doing, is making sure that we follow FOI as well as Robert's rules.
Thank you. Councilor McBride, do you have anything to input on
I
that?
don't know the exact details, but I'm going to give my best. I think in New London, how they do it is the wording of the CAM states that all items of the CAM, and this is not exact, but all.
What is a CAM? We don't have a CAM.
Consent agenda motion.
Oh, okay.
So all items under the consent agenda motion either pass unanimously or get referred to a committee or a poll. So those are kind of the options. So everything is either passed unanimously, or a person has the right to pull it, or it gets referred to a committee. So it's just a different setup. It doesn't follow 2/3 because that's not an issue. It passes on back.
So then I would ask this council not to vote on this because we do not have committees. And so that's where they're able to do the proper deliberation. We only have limited committees. We don't have committees for everything. So therefore, there's no other time to deliberate on this. We have a rules committee and we have like a few, but there's things that fall outside the purview of that. So again, like I said, I don't think it's fair. And I don't think for myself, I'll speak for myself, that my mind's not made up on that one last meeting because we talked about it. If some other new information comes forward, it's my obligation to look into that, read it, assess it, come back with a decided. Just because we voted on this many weeks ago, I could have a change of heart overnight. And that's my right to do my due diligence. Also, it needs to also state in here, if the town manager emails us any other information regarding that item once it went through, we need some type of clause in there that says, then it's back on the floor. It's pulled out of the consent calendar. Anytime a new update or a new thing comes in regarding that item, which has happened after we voted on something many weeks before, which is great. I appreciate the information. He might say, hey, we just found this out. Here's a new piece. Where are we deliberating and discussing those items? Only in an email? We have to talk about that as a whole. So as new things develop, which things are ever evolving, especially with RFPs and properties, he'll find out, oh my God, we found out this developer needs to do this and this and this, and we already voted on something, and now we have to get a 2/3 vote. Anytime the town gives us new information, it should automatically come back to the table. We can't just blanketly pass something. So my question to the town manager, how is that going to limit your ability to get to stuff to us in a timely manner? Because we have one vote.
Mr. Burt, do you have an answer for that?
Well, I do trust the council that they would vote to pull something out if necessary, but just to make it clear, you can create rules that supersede Robert's rules. That's the base. And it says right in our rules that you can do it under Rule 8. And what I did where I came from is one person could, where I was last at, one person could pull it off, but each place can do it how they want if you want to create a rule that supersedes.
So I got 25 seconds to get this out in one breath. I encourage someone to take their second and pull this amendment down. And you want to be more efficient, let's do it. But let's do it with some dignity and respect for all councils, because I'll tell you right now, I know that I'm not going to get the 2/3 vote many times. So, but if someone's passionate about something, as Councilor Franco stated, she has every right to bring it forward if there's new information, new development. So I think it should be one councilor, if they happen to say, I'd like to pull that off, they pull it off. So I encourage our counselor to amend or pull these off, and let's get another motion on the floor. Thank you.
Councilor Parker.
So our working group is the committee of whole, which is the 9 of us when we are present, or thereof, or whoever's present. That's where we do most of our business. The town council meetings are where we approve the items we discussed at the previous meeting, which would be the committee of the whole, which is in our rules. So yes, Robert's rule says, under our current parliamentary authority, that's where Mr. Burt was looking at, we shall govern the council in all cases which they are applicable, provided they do not conflict with these rules, the town charter, or applicable ordinances or statutes. So my question is, are we going to change, if we're going to change something, to change it to have the consent calendar be one item or one council pull it out, that needs to be a referral so we can put it in the rules, which won't be voted upon until, if we have a meeting this month, and we cannot, so it won't be voted upon until June, because we're in the middle of a budget session, and I'm not trying to, I don't think we can squeeze another meeting in right now. My second point is, we just said approved items, unanimously approved items, which would include the grants and other items. So most of our items are approved. For instance, almost all our items were approved tonight. They could be moved to the consent calendar. If we do not have 8 of us approve something, that item is not going to go under the consent calendar. That's what you guys just asked for, and that's what we're hoping to vote for. I'm actually going to move this previous question, which requires a 2/3 vote. Because it is now 10:02, and our rules do say we have to have a consensus if we want to continue this discussion after 10 o'clock.
Point of information?
Your point of information? We need to, is there a second? There's a motion on the floor. Hold on. Is there a second to move the question?
Second.
Point of information.
Yes?
What would have to happen if one person wanted to table this because there's not enough information? And I just, like, I think we should get the attorney's opinion. John brought up how, the rules don't necessarily, go with the Roberts rules thing, so there is ways. I think we should have all those options on the table. I just don't feel comfortable rushing through this tonight, so I'm just asking, like, would that, to table it, is that considered another amended motion on the floor, or how would that have to work? Is my question.
I didn't bring my little
We're
sheet.
moving a motion.
I'm sorry, say
We're
it
in the
again.
middle of a motion now. We have to make a decision first.
We have a motion to move the question right at the moment.
To
I'll
end
answer
the-
your question real quick. Hold on one second. All right, thanks. Postpone a discussion for a certain time. You may not interrupt the speaker to postpone.
It's non-debatable. This is not,
I'm answering a point of information. You will need a second. It is debatable. Can it be amended? Yes. You will need a majority. So.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor to call the question. We need 2/3 vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. So there were 3 opposed. Any abstentions? So that passes 5-3-0. The motion,
Madam
question
Mayor,
has been called?
Question, roll call, wait.
wait, roll call.
Yeah, can we do a roll call vote on that last vote? To move the question.
Sure.
Thank you.
If it's a 2/3, it takes 6 votes to
Oh, so it
pass.
failed. It failed at 5. I'm thinking it was, I'm sorry. It was 5-3-0. That was the number.
I would still like a.
All right.
roll call.
Counselor Parker,
Yes.
Gieske,
Aye.
McBride,
No. Yes.
Jones, Rusk,
Yes.
Pacino,
Yes.
Bordelon.
This is to move the question, correct?
Yes.
No.
I am also a no. So it fails.
2/3 is 6.
After 8?
5.33.
So we are still on comments.
Okay.
I am next. It is also 10 o'clock, so let's just take the consensus. Do we want to move forward at past 10 p.m. to finish this business and go on to other business? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we are moving forward. I'm just going to say it very quickly right now, where I stand on this. There is a second amended motion on the floor. I probably will not be in favor of it. I would like, now that I'm thinking about it, because I wonder to myself, how does one recuse themselves when everything's in the consent calendar all at once, and you're voting one time? How would you recuse yourself from one item? I mean, there are just things that are popping into my head about this that I just don't know how to answer these. What I will come back to, if this fails, I would put a motion on the table, that it is only grants and grants that are passed unanimously in the cow. That's where I'm at. I would also think that on our agendas, if it is possible, to probably highlight in bold print when we're reading our packets on town council night, just to bold up exactly what is necessary to be read. So maybe that we don't have to read through the whole exact thing, that we could bold it up, and then for some efficiencies, if it's already been discussed in cow in the full. But that's where I stand. I think there's some things that I understand the efficiencies we're trying to get to, but on the other hand, I think of some other things that could potentially jump up and recusal is one of them. I just don't know how we would handle that. If I wanted to recuse from one thing and I say pull it, but I don't get the support. So I just don't know how to handle this. So I would only vote for grants that were 100% passed in DeKalb. I'm sorry, and that's where I stand at the moment. All right, so right now we have a second amendment. Councilor McBride, I had you down. Did you want to speak on this?
Yeah, just quickly, I think this has all been great discussion. I'm just wondering what the procedure would be to move this back to the committee to do further research and bring it back to this council for further discussion, I guess is the way I'm thinking, because great points everybody's making. I think we can become more efficient, but maybe we need to do a little more homework first.
Okay, so you can make, is that a separate type of motion? Is it privileged?
It has to be majority, it's debatable, and it can be amended, and it's majority, and it can be reconsidered.
You would need a second. It's debatable, it can be amended, majority. Hold on, unless the committee has already taken.
Did he make a motion?
Can I?
It says those things and it has a little 4 next to it, and it says unless the committee has already taken up the subject.
So can that be reframed as a motion, I guess, is that the question?
It can be probably sent back to committee for discussion. I just don't know, we have 2 amendment motions on the floor. I don't know if this is another motion or if it's just, if it's a privileged
I will remove
motion.
my motion so that we can send it back to committee.
Thank you. Gajewski, do you remove your, no.
It wasn't
Parker,
Gajewski.
do you remove your?
Actually, I'm not.
Okay. We have the first amended motion on the floor. It's Parker and Gajewski. And then we have the main motion. So Parker is in play on all of them. All right. At the moment, I'm not sure if anybody, I don't know if, honestly, I don't know if we can move it back at this time with 2 amended motions on the floor, or if we have to wait for one of them to fall off.
Point of information, could we vote on the First Amendment and then have discussion again?
Can. So we could vote on the one, the second amended motion, which was made by Rusk, seconded by Parker. Councilman McBride, do you have anything else to say? You still have time. I'm sorry, I apologize about that. Sort of a little discussion ensued, I'm sorry.
Point of information?
Yes?
So this would have to be voted down in order to open up space to put the room that we need. Is that
I
correct?
believe so.
Okay.
I believe
All
so.
right.
So it is,
Point of information.
yes.
The option here is still to vote yes or no on this. If it goes yes, then this becomes the new rule. If we vote no, then it opens up space to
Put
allow
something on
for
the floor.
another amendment.
Or
Point of
a
information, or
referral
if it-
back to committee.
Correct.
Point of information, if it doesn't pass, it doesn't have to be a no vote.
Correct.
All right, so the amended motion is by Rusk and seconded by Parker.
Point of information?
I'm gonna read it so that we understand what's going on, so we all know how to vote and explain the situation on hand, okay?
I just wanted to ask the town manager if he knew if another motion could be on or not as he looked it up. Does anyone here know?
Well, another motion cannot be put. There's only 2 amended, there's a motion and 2 amended, and that's all you can do. I just don't know if a referral back to committee
Right.
can go on top of the 2 amended.
Great, does anyone here know?
No, that's what we're getting at. That's why we're going to take one off.
I was just looking at a guide. I would have to look it up in the book. It looks like it can lay on top of it, but I have to verify the actual book.
You want the book?
So
You want the book?
The guide
All
is.
right, so I would say we're going to take
You want the original?
a few minutes and we're going to look in the book. So
Here.
I think we should take,
It
it is 10:11, and we're going to take
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
5-minute recess so we can all review Robert's Rules of Order and try and come up with the proper steps. Thank you.
Anyone want to call Barbara Tarbox?
Not
Yeah,
at
that would
10:11.
That'd be a lot easier.
I'd rather
Whose book is open?
We are back from a little Robert's Rules recess at 10:19, and it was found in our book that we can refer it back to committee at this time. I think, as well as Councilor Parker may want to speak on her the second amended motion.
Point of it, who's got the floor, technically?
I think that was me. I brought up the discussion of referring it back to a committee. So if that's allowed, I'd like to make the amendment, make a motion or amend it, refer it back to committee for further discussion.
Second, Bordelon.
All right. All right, that was by McBride. Seconded by Bordelon. Okay, do you have anything to say about that? Any comments?
Me, no, I just think a lot of great comments have been brought up, and the committee's done great work on making things more efficient, but it may just need a little bit more time and focus to make things in everybody's best interest.
Thank you. Councilor Parker, did you want to speak?
I did. I'm actually going to withdraw my motion that Councilor Rusk had put in.
You're withdrawing your second on it.
Withdrawing my second to, the suggestion would be to add the verbiage that one counselor can pull out the information. But on the same token, I'm getting ready to say, I would like to, I don't know if I can do this, but if that fails or the discussion doesn't go further, I make a motion to move that, just cancel out this whole referral item.
Councilor Rusk.
No.
This is your amended motion.
I do not accept that amendment.
Okay.
Okay. Discussion on refer back to committee with McBride and seconded by Bordelon.
Roll call, please.
This is debatable. Does anybody have any comments? Councilor Bordelon.
Yeah, I think they're, again, as stated, not allowing people the chance and making someone have to have a 2/3 vote is just not deliberative or democracy. Not fair. For me, I feel it's not fair. If you miss a meeting and it's an 8-0 vote, you don't have a chance. If it's a 9-0 vote, we should have the chance, if we do our homework or some more information comes forward, we should be allowed to look at that information and present it forward and not have to ask. We all, deserve to reconsider and shouldn't be boxed into the same thing. So I think setting it back allows for more time, and I appreciate it coming forward, but I would love to see some more. And also, the town manager stated that we don't have to hold to the 2/3, so let's lighten the load a little bit. Let's bring it down. And I think that's important, that, it shouldn't have to, but I can see where some items like grants could be beneficial to be able to push through. So we have a chance here to kind of work on this together, and I think, when we're looking at rules of the whole council, it should be important. Even though there is a rules committee, not everybody can speak at the rules committee if there's a quorum. So it's not like we're having a chance to deliberate on this. This is our only time to do such. So again, I'm excited to send this back. I think that's a good move. Thank you.
Did you have your hand up? I saw you moving over there.
Me?
Yeah,
No, I was
I saw you moving. Okay. Didn't want to skip over you. Okay. So refer back to committee is on the floor. I don't see any more hands. Let's take a vote on this one. All in favor of sending this back to the committee for further discussion?
Aye.
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 No.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? All right, that goes 7-1-0. That is going back to committee.
Oh, no, I have another motion I would like to put on the floor.
For this topic?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I did say that before.
Okay, please.
I'd like to remove this item from the rules and keep the rules as is.
I'll second for discussion.
You've already taken action. I don't think you can do
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
further.
that's why I tried, I did
Yeah,
say before,
I know, but
I said it
it's too late.
before, that I was going to remove it out. I did say that when I spoke. But it's okay, we'll send it back to.
You said it, but Counselor McBride had the floor at the time.
Yeah.
So that was the issue. So this did get referred back, and I don't think I can take any more actions on this now
Okay.
that it's been sent back.
We will not be having our meeting until after budget season, so it will not be
Okay,
taken up until
understood.
June.
All right, so this, let me just make a note of this, sent back to committee. It passes 7-1 to 0, and it was Parker. In the negative. All right, so we are on to other
Motion to
business.
adjourn.
Open,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yep. It's non-debatable.
it's not debatable, you're right. Thought we were going to talk about the ARPA money, but I
No.
guess not tonight.
We're done.
So we have a motion on the floor to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstentions? Doesn't matter. All right. That passes 5-3 to 0.
Wait.
Were you a yes or no?
All right, we're going to wait. We have
Do a roll
somebody
call,
is
please.
asking for a roll call vote because we have an
Roll call
issue with
vote.
voting.
I'm sorry.
I think it's full.
So, Council Bordelon?
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes.
Pacino?
No.
Counselor Rusk?
No.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor McBride?
Yes.
Counselor Gieske?
No.
Counselor Parker?
Yes.
I am a no.
It's tied in.
It is a 4-4, that fails. We are still,
No, we're not. Bye. I'm not staying. I'm tired.
okay. Counselor Parker will be leaving. It is 10:27. All right, so we have an open agenda item on the back of our packet, if anybody wants to discuss that. But the purpose of us talking right now that I thought would be, it was brought up during the meeting, is the human services funding for ARPA and whether we want to have a referral brought to the council on this. I personally would like us to wait a little bit of time to see how we go through the budget session and see if what happens with anything on there, with any kind of ARPA, and if we might be able to get more information about if ARPA funds, if we have ARPA funding left over from any of the projects that we've been doing, and give the town a little bit of time before it comes back to the council. So maybe we have a referral, but it comes back to the council and we give it like a little bit of time, maybe a couple of months. So at this time, we can have a quick discussion on it, and then we can take a consensus and see if we have the votes to try and bring it back. Anybody else have something to say?
That sounds fine.
Dan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to make this referral to review the ARPA funding for utilities again as a future agenda item, as when you see fit. So I make that motion.
Thank you. It may not specifically be utilities.
That's
It
fine.
might be.
ARPA, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll take out the word utilities.
It
and
might
ARPA
be remaining ARPA funding.
Remaining
Yes,
ARPA funding.
For human services.
For human services.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I need a second.
It's, you know, it's
Oh, okay.
it's
Oh,
us
just a
asking
referral.
for a
Okay, thank you.
referral.
Yep.
Is there anybody else, because I sort of, so is there anybody else here that has a comment? Counselor Jones?
I kind of like the idea that the mayor just had, of just sort of wait till after the budget season, we'll see what kind of money we have and what's there, and then we can decide sort of what to do at that point. I don't think we need to put this through right now, and if something happened that they really need more money, we can always act. But I think just waiting
But as a referral, the town can work on it in the process. So if we say yes to a referral, we know it'll come back to us and they can start working on looking at the issues.
I sort of understood you were just sort of say wait.
Yes, we're going to wait to bring it actually onto the agenda for a couple months, but it is a referral right now to say yes. Are you in favor of the referral?
Oh.
To do this in a couple months?
No. I just want to wait, that's all. I don't need a referral, we just wait.
No, we need 6 people to do it. We need 6 people to say yes to a referral. Because we've already tackled it with Human Services. Now we need 6 people to say yes. We do eventually want to bring this back. If you don't, we're going to do this another night then. We're going to be sitting here doing it again. So it's either now or another night. We'll do it again.
Sure, okay.
And maybe it'll be even later on another night. It's only 10:30 right now.
Yes.
I'm in favor of
Okay,
putting this
so let's
on a
take
referral.
let's just take a roll call down. Council Bordelon, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
All right, Council Pacino.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm in favor. So that gets us to the next step, that we will see this in the future to be able to bring it back.
Second.
All right. All right, adjourn.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.